said hello once again. I'm Max Ratt, and welcome to the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. So, it's October 30th, 2013, and I have another show for you this evening. Well, my last show was on September 24th and on Syria, so it's been more than a month. I've been working hard on this next show. The title of the show is going to be called The United Nations and Unelected World Government Theater. I'll explain that along the way, as I usually try to do. This is a big show. The United Nations had the General Assembly debates right around at the time when I finished my show on Syria in September, in the end of September. I think it actually started on September 24th. And living in the rat hole here in New York City, I'm very familiar with when they have the United Nations in town every they have the General Assembly meetings in Manhattan here in the beginning of September, almost every year, I usually don't pay much attention to it other than being run around by all the police state measures that they implement in New York, where seemingly diplomats drive around in motorcades all over Manhattan, blocking all the streets and just making a mess out of it, and just giving us the impression that you're the slave, we're the big shots running around New York. Obviously, I take offense to that because I'm a native New Yorker and I lived here my whole life, and I don't really like foreigners or even out-of-towners coming in to town and pushing me around. But that's we've come to get used to that. In fact, we've even bowed down to that. I would have to say, because most people don't have time to do anything about it. So most of the time, people just say, "Okay, yeah, that's what happens," and this and that. I want to get into this United Nations thing rather in depth on this show. In fact, this show is going to be two shows because there was so much stuff that I had to put in it, and with over almost 200 speeches at the United Nations. I went through it all, which took a multitude of hours. Hence the length of time that in between my last show. But I have two shows for you. This is going to be part one of the United Nations show. I guess I'm just going to get it kicked off, and we're going to go into it, and we're going to start as I usually do. Thanks for coming aboard the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm Max Ratt. It's October 30th, day before Halloween, in New York City, live from the rat hole. I'm Max Ratt. Thanks for coming aboard.
Wait, don't go in there. He's doing his podcast.
He says he wants to speak to the UN.
What about Max? What does Max think?
Tell me what's going on.
Anything you want to know, you could hire yourself a corporate teacher, see? I mean, you can call somebody out. Use your privilege card.
There it is again. Where is that thumping coming from? It's driving me crazy.
Could be far-off helicopters. UN helicopters.
Friends, this is not about rich versus poor. This is about a very, very small handful of the worst criminal element on this planet manipulating and destroying the good people of this nation and of this world.
Yeah, so like I said, the show will be all about the United Nations and my view on what's going on with that. One thing I'd like to put out there is that I actually know a few people who work at the United Nations, and one of my nice friends used to work there. She retired recently. However, I don't even think, and I know others who still work at the United Nations. In fact, a couple of my listeners are work there as we speak. And I've noticed that even those people who are very nice people, very bright people, smart people, even they don't really know what the hell's going on at the United Nations. You know, they're apparatchiks. They work for somebody at the United Nations, and they get bossed around accordingly, I guess. And most people are compartmentalized and don't really understand exactly what's going on there and why this is such a nefarious, absolutely evil group that is very much more running our lives than anybody would care to think or most people even know. I dug in deep and went through all of the speeches and everything. And when I go through the speeches, I like to find the patterns that and speak and you know, and this stuff really grinds my gears as well. But rather than to try to tell you what's going to happen, I'm just going to show you. Well, I might just keep the show going. So welcome aboard once again, the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. You're talking to Max Ratt over here, and we're talking about the United Nations on the show. Let's keep it going.
Apples into applesauce, a unification into one smooth mixture, an egg. Nature's perfect container, the container of all our hopes for the future.
A unification in a container of hope? United World Organization!
Precisely, Robin. And there's a special meeting of the Security Council today. If what I fear is true...
Wow! Let's commandeer a taxi.
No, Robin. Not at this time of day. Luckily, we're in tip-top condition. It'll be faster if we run. Let's go.
Good morning. It is 9 o'clock, so we should begin.
I've been sent here to determine who or what you represent and what your intentions are.
They're talking about total world government, with all major decisions being made at the top and people at the bottom being essentially living in a feudalist society, just serfs and peasants, basically, in a high-tech feudalism.
What is your purpose in coming here?
There is a gathering of world leaders not far from here. I will explain my purpose to them.
There are UN delegates present of most of the important countries, and the television cameras are carrying our meeting throughout the world.
The hope of universal acceptance by the people and the elite all across the globe.
Okay, now that last clip was the new Iranian president Rouhani, who first of all, well, you know, we're going to get into this all very in depth, obviously, folks. But first of all, so the United Nations they do this General Assembly every year, and pretty much every country puts their representative in front of the assembly, and they give their speeches accordingly. Now, the new Iranian president, his name is Rouhani. He and of course, obviously, anybody who's watching the news ever has been led to believe that Iran is some sort of a rogue state that is pursuing chemical weapons, and they threaten Israel and all these things. Needless to say, none of that's remotely true. But I just played that last one because, so this guy Rouhani gives a speech. Now, first of all, they put in front of you, or they put out he apparently, I guess he gives his speech in his native language of Farsi, so they have a supposed interpreter interpreting him. Everybody has different interpreters, or if they speak in English, needless to say, they don't have an interpreter, at least not for me, at least not for my show. But so Rouhani comes out there, and besides having an absolutely insane, wild-sounding interpreter who's really who certainly doesn't sound like he would even speak Iranian, even though I guess that's not really easy to say that anybody would sound like they speak Farsi or whatever. However, I did grow up in a town in Long Island and in Roslyn, New York, where we actually, at the time of when they deposed the Shah of Iran, I guess it was in the late 70s, we had a influx of a bunch of Iranian people who moved to my town and the town next door where my dad worked in Great Neck, and I remember specifically, first of all, that they were all very nice people. Second of all, they were all very slick and very in general, relatively wealthy people and very well-spoken and polite and very sharp. Okay, not a bunch of morons or towel heads or whatever you've been led to believe. And I don't know what happened to, particularly people even in my town where we were in a relatively Jewish area and all of a sudden we seem to think that we grew up with these Iranian people, and I promise you nobody was under the impression they were idiots, and nobody under the impression they were Jew haters by any stretch of the imagination. Now, some of them may have been Jewish and not Muslim. However, it didn't matter. They were very well-spoken, extremely well-dressed, particularly well-dressed. I remember a lot of them had Rolls Royces, by the way. So they were very, very good business people, very sharp. Anyway, I'm not here to defend Iran by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway, so they put this guy Rouhani in front of you at the United Nations, and he's got some moron interpreting for him, supposedly. I will tell you right now that not one word out of any speech in the United Nations is interpreted, okay? What they have is people reading scripts that they claim, like they try in a very half-assed way. They try to pretend like they're interpreting it because they pause every once in a while, this and that, but none of it's interpreted. Now, back to this last clip. So this guy Rouhani, he says that they want the universal acceptance of the United Nations by the people and the elites. Okay, now why Rouhani first of all would say something like that anyway? I don't know. That's because he's not an independent anything. He is, and he is every single person of the United Nations is a representative of the world government people. This is all a theater. That's why I called it a theater in my title, because this is all a theater for theatrics to give people an idea, a presentation of what they're supposed to, they would like to believe is some sort of a righteous world government body. These are all a bunch of criminal liars, okay, and it's all written by the same exact people. That will make absolutely clear in this show. Now, again, back to the clip, and we'll keep it going. They talk about the universal acceptance of by the people and the elites. So right away, Rouhani is telling you that there's a separation between the people of the world and the elites of the world, which is exactly what is going on here at the United Nations. We'll get that into more detail. Let's keep it going. I'm going to play that clip again.
The hope of universal acceptance by the people and the elite all across the globe.
Okay, so it's the universal acceptance by the people and the elite. So what they do with these things is they've already demonized certain countries and certain people who represent certain countries. So in general, what happens a lot of the time is that the people who've been demonized, whether it's a Rouhani from Iran, whether it's the North Korean guy, or whether it might be the Syrian people now these days in this one, and all different situations that are going on all over the world. What they'll do is if you're ever going to hear anything that's half true at all, which is rare from any of these people, what they'll do is they'll use the demonized person to hand it to you, because the other people just toe the line, and the people who you think are representing you or somebody you know, who aren't the demonized crowd supposedly, those people will only give you the party line, so to speak. And it is a party line. It's a one world government, unelected party line. So anyway, so right off the bat, we got Rouhani telling you about the people and the elite. So he's telling you that there is an elite running you, which is very 1984, very Brave New World, and people should know about that, because I have a feeling most people think they're the elite, and you ain't. They're just like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. The problem is the people who are in it are a bunch of inbred slime bags, lying criminals, and we have to start waking up to all this stuff. Let me keep it going from there.
In reality, the United Nations is the seat of what the member governments hope will become a true world government. It's to be a government.
Okay, and I would say that the world government's already in place behind the scenes. We're going to get into that as well. United Nations is a representative of the theater of the world government to make you think that that's how it works, but that's not how it works. That's how you're being told it works because you're distracted and not paying attention. Keep it going.
He is telling the truth.
The land where the United Nations is seated was purchased by the Rockefellers and donated to the United Nations. Well, they didn't do that as a means of being great humanitarians, although that's the image that many people have. They did because they had a keen interest in building this new world order, and they thought this would be the seat for it, and so that's why they did that.
Right, so the Rockefellers own the land that the United Nations is on. They created the United Nations along with their Queen of England buddies and the European royalty buddies, all people who are very, and I have a bone to pick with all royalty, and I will in the show as well. It disgusts me to think that most people even don't think that that's a problem. But I'm gonna touch upon that rather earlier in this show. So Rockefellers run the United Nations, and I will tell you specifically and clearly that they run every single word that comes out of the United Nations as well. Now, when I say the Rockefellers, does that mean that there's one Rockefeller sitting there in a room? No, but that's the structure that they've built and developed, which is a total outright criminal structure. That is a structure that runs this United Nations and presents it to you in this form of like, oh, it's all good and we're all a bunch of hippies and it's all good and we're all like, it's all about peace and love and understanding, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. Let's keep it going. So the Rockefellers donated the land.
The land where the United Nations is seated was purchased by the Rockefellers and donated to the United Nations. Well, they didn't do that as a means of being great humanitarians, although that's the image that many people have. They did because they had a keen interest in building this new world order, and they thought this would be the seat for it, and so that's why they did that.
The Council of the Americas, founder and honorary chairman, David Rockefeller. The Americas Society, chairman, David Rockefeller. The Forum of the Americas, founder, David Rockefeller. The Institute for International Economics, financial backer and board member, David Rockefeller. The Trilateral Commission, founder and honorary chairman, David Rockefeller.
Organizations, these big ones like the Rockefeller Funds and the Ford Foundation and these big tax-exempt megaliths, the general impression of them is that they do good works. I mean, they're supposedly doing charity of some kind or educational projects. But boy, what a difference there is between that image and the reality when you look at some of them.
Exactly. They are the furthest thing from doing good and philanthropy, the furthest thing you can imagine. I guess that a lot of my shows lately I've been picking on the Rockefellers, but you know what though, folks? I'm sorry, but it is what it is, and this is all backed and run out of their foundations, and just like and so is healthcare, and so is just about everything, and I might even throw out some very interesting information, but let's get that I have about Obama and the Rockefellers, but I'm gonna save that for a little bit later. Let's keep it going. So David Rockefeller runs all these NGOs, which are non-governmental organizations, which is a way that the world government people use to infiltrate and to disrupt and to destabilize different countries all over the world and different organizations. And so he's running these NGOs, and I'll run through that again, and we'll keep the show going.
The Council of the Americas, founder and honorary chairman, David Rockefeller. The Americas Society, chairman, David Rockefeller. The Forum of the Americas, founder, David Rockefeller. The Institute for International Economics, financial backer and board member, David Rockefeller. The Trilateral Commission, founder and honorary chairman, David Rockefeller.
Keep your eye on the Trilateral Commission because that's probably one of the most powerful organizations on Earth. and I will give you some information on that as well coming up shortly in this show.
Often on roller skates, shadowed by a chauffeured limousine, he attended the Lincoln School of Columbia University's Teachers College for 12 years. His teachers there thought him a slow learner, a condition diagnosed later in life as dyslexia.
You're not dealing with morons here.
Yeah, what I wanted to show you with that last clip is, first of all, they were introducing David Rockefeller as a speaker in an interview, and before that, the guy introduces him saying he was known as a slow learner, and then they blamed it on dyslexia. I will tell you what that is, folks. That is because these people are the children of grandchildren of very successful, powerful people, and these people are inbred idiots, okay? I have no doubt in my mind about that. I don't care what anybody wants to say, okay? That now, is he that big an idiot? Obviously not, because he's running they're running the world, okay? But you have the royalty in Europe and the Rockefellers and a few elite families here in America, and they are outright just low-life, cheating, lying criminals who are the children of very powerful and very nefarious people to begin with. However, but they're telling you right there that he was. They're even admitting that he's a slow learner. Maybe, you know what? I could be taking the bait on that too, because they want you to think he's stupid, because then people will be like, well, how could he, if he's so stupid, how could he be running everything? And you know what? You'd be right about that, because you can't be that stupid. However, they do have, this is stuff that's been passed along for a long time, and they do have plans and ideas, and they know what they're doing, that's for sure. Keep it going.
And so it is the position of the United Nations that the world population remain calm, to make no hostile move, to keep in mind that all governments are being apprised of the events as they happen and have the situation well in hand.
Yeah, so United Nations that was from an old Twilight Zone, that clip. But they're like, yeah, we're keeping everybody informed on what we're doing here. I would beg to differ on that as well. Here's the other end, one of the other ends of the Trilateral, which would be America, Europe, and Asia. Okay, if you will. I mean, just to vaguely represent what the Trilateral stands for. Now they call it multilateral. It's basically, those are the hubs of the world government. You got Russia, China, Europe, and United States. Period. Africa and South America are basically resource farms for these world criminals, and we're going to get deeply into that as well. Keep it going.
Mr. President, Secretary General, members of the General Assembly, I address you today as Queen of 16 United Nations member states and as head of the Commonwealth of 54 countries.
Our dear leader, our beloved Queen, long may she rule over us. What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so Queen Elizabeth, and that was 2010, that wasn't this year. Every other clip I'm going to show you is from this year's 2013 General Assembly. Queen Elizabeth addressed the United Nations to a resounding applause. Oh, she's a queen. And she gets up there, and in 2010, it's only a few years ago, she gets up there and tells you that she is the queen of 16 United Nations member states, along with 54 countries in my Commonwealth. Okay? So, I'm not sure what the difference is between the queen of a state and a 54 and a Commonwealth. The Commonwealth means that she doesn't get to say she's your queen, but she is anyway. I guess that's what that means. Okay, now you want to know who's in that Commonwealth? Oh, we got a country right up to the north of old America over here called Canada. They have her picture on their money. And I get a kick out of kidding around with Canadians, because I'm like, for somebody who thinks that you guys aren't slaves, because Canadians are like, we're not slaves, we're not like you crazy Americans, whatever. Yes, America's a bunch of corrupt criminal mafiocracy, But Canada, it's, the difference is because they lie to Americans, because most Americans probably wouldn't go along with it if they knew what the fuck was going on. But Canadians have put her picture on their money. And when she goes over there, she's like, yeah, I'm just checking out my place, my territories in Canada for while I'm over here. Anyway, so she's got 16 member states that she's the queen of, she says, whatever that's supposed to fucking mean, and 54 countries in her Commonwealth, which is about a quarter of the world, okay? And then I had my man Deke Jackson, so he said, long may she rule over us. Yeah, isn't that great? And aren't we thrilled about that? Now, I'm happy to say that America isn't included in those 54 countries of the Commonwealth, but let's face it, folks, she is right there pulling the strings, and like we may never even have won that Revolutionary War, so to speak. But if we did, we're certainly back partners with her, with the criminal Rockefellers running things behind the scenes, because I'm sure that they are in with her. That's why I put that clip in there. So she's addressing the United Nations. She's like, I guess hello, slaves. How are you today?
Mr. President, Secretary General, members of the General Assembly, I address you today as Queen of 16 United Nations member states and as head of the Commonwealth of 54 countries.
Okay, so she's head of the Commonwealth, whatever that means, of 54 countries, and queen of 16.
Our dear leader, our beloved queen, long may she rule over us. What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
It is said that the people are revolting.
You said it. They stink on ice.
The bottom line is that some of the most brutal and totalitarian regimes of history have been funded by people of great wealth.
And each time that our organization shows itself to be without power and without force, it is peace that will be the first victim.
Okay, so that's Haaland, who gave a speech that was from the United Nations this year also, and he says each time the United Nations is without power or force, peace is the victim. Again, that's the old Orwellian wars: peace, freedom, slavery, ignorance, and strength. That's your man Haaland, who's a human highlight film in this. And for somebody from France who supposedly eviscerated their monarchy, he's saying we need force and power in the United Nations in order to maintain peace. Yeah, okay, buddy. And then this guy is an arch criminal also, and he is. If you're French, folks, that guy is not on your side at all, and he is all bought. He's bought in. He is a puppet of the New World Order, world government criminals for sure, like everybody else. But this guy's a real low life. Haaland, keep it going.
How democratic is a type of government where the ruler inherits their power from birth?
Well, it's not very democratic at all, is it? It's an archaic system of rule which went out with the ark, but no one really has been able to remove the monarch or the system of privilege which the monarch imbues.
Right, and what gets me, folks, is that they put a monarch and they put kings in front of you at the United Nations, like I thought we're talking about a democratic world government based on peace, and we're showing you a bunch of then we have a queen who claims that she's a queen of 16 countries, 54 nations in her Commonwealth, and she's I mean, what kind of and she inherited that from birth. Okay, so I'm not sure what, and if you think, the problem is nobody, I promise you very few people even watched any of that stuff besides all of them like I did. I don't need a medal for watching all of it. Believe me, it was a lot of work to go through all that stuff. But what people need to understand is that we're exalted, and then these British people and not just British people, because I speak to people from all over, and there's kings everywhere, folks, and particularly in Europe. But if you speak to a Swedish person, they've got a queen or a king, and the Dutch people have a king now, and Spain has a king, and and pretty much almost Norway has almost all the European countries have monarchies, and they'll all tell you, oh yeah, they don't have any power. They don't have any power. She just told you that she's the queen of 16 countries and 54 nations, folks. Okay, I don't know what kind of little power, and she's talking in front of the United Nations, and they're all clapping for her. Now, when she talks in front of the United Nations, I would argue, and I'm sure that means that she's running it, folks. Okay, she certainly is coming up there, and they certainly are kissing her fucking ass. Okay, period. And I'm not sure what's wrong with people, but that's not what I'm. That's not. I thought I was a free American. And, I'm watching Gunsmoke on TV, where people are free and have land and protect their own land, and they have ranches on. This is the furthest thing from reality at this point that you can imagine, and we're going in high speed, full throttle in the other direction.
We're all one cohesive hive of joy, brimming with affection for the hereditary German family that murdered their way to the throne and occupy a position of wealth and privilege unimaginable to any ordinary person.
They occupy a position of wealth and privilege. Isn't that nice? Okay, and they're born into it, and that's not just them. And the people are like, oh yeah, but she doesn't have any power. She just speaks in front of the United Nations and tells you she's the queen of 16 nations in the United Nations and 54 countries, which is 1/4 out of every country on Earth. And she doesn't have any power, and she's got a big fat palace in the middle of London, and among all others, and she's and let's keep it going. This disgusts me to think that people are that naive and that stupid and that unaware.
Since I addressed you last, the Commonwealth too has grown vigorously to become a group of nations representing nearly 2 billion people. It gives its wholehearted support to the significant contributions to the peace and stability of the world made by the United Nations and its agencies.
Okay, so she tells you that the Commonwealth has been expanding into 2 billion slaves, okay, throughout the world. So now we're talking about 1/3 of everybody on Earth, okay, is supposedly under her rule, her Commonwealth, okay, her wealth of her Commonwealth, okay, and then she's going to go out there tell you endorse the United Nations, which means this is she's part of these, she's letting the United Nations administrate her 1/3 of the world Commonwealth, okay, and she's endorsing that. So again, yeah, she doesn't have any power at all, and she's just that's absurd to think that. So we got the Rockefellers over here, we got the Queen of England over there, and I would argue that those two plan to screw over everybody else. So if you're a Russian elitist or a Chinese elitist, and you think that they're not going to screw you over, you guys have got to be kidding me also. And I don't believe in anybody's an elitist, okay? I believe you guys, they're elitist means that you're an inbred, low-life, lying criminal, okay? Period. All right? Somebody who works hard and makes lots of money because they're smart and they're sharp and they've sacrificed and they worked hard. That's a great person to me, and I believe in all that stuff. I don't believe in this hereditary elitist garbage, and they throw that in front of you like you're an absolute moron, and you gobble it up. What are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like Deke said.
The ruling monarch in Britain is not an elected official. How do you think this may affect the decision-making process and the accountability for the decisions that the Queen or the King makes?
Well, the King or the Queen isn't accountable. They make their own decisions, and they have friends and relatives and extended family and financial acquaintances throughout the world, and this has nothing to do with government at all.
Never mind fuck the Queen, fuck the loyal peasants, fuck the jingoist, patriotic, flag-waving, lowbrow, unevolved, ill-informed masses that buy this shit and prop it up with their unthinking acquiescence.
you're propping it up with unthinking acquiescence. Okay, well said, Deke Jackson. And he's saying, not just fuck the Queen, fuck the loyal peasants who are propping this shit up with their unthinking acquiescence. Okay, and they're an affront to all humanity and freedom and humanity everywhere on this planet, folks, and in this universe. Okay, because who died and made her queen? Okay, and why? I mean, I thought that when I grew up, we were kind of led to believe that there was no such thing as monarchies anymore. Now that's all I fucking see everywhere, and I'm sorry for the bad language. Not that you're not used to it from me already, but this grinds my gears, okay? And to think that she's gonna get up in front of the United Nations and tell you, yeah, I like the United Nations and I'm down with them, and I run 2 billion people and 16 countries and 54 in my Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth is 2 billion people strong. And you don't think that she's flexing her muscles right in front of you, and then she's saying, yeah, just do whatever the United Nations tell you, you stupid slave? That's what's going on here. And the loyal peasants who are propping this crap up have got to be kidding me.
Never mind fuck the Queen, fuck the loyal peasants, fuck the jingoist, patriotic, flag-waving, lowbrow, unevolved, ill-informed masses that buy this shit and prop it up with their unthinking acquiescence.
That's just outrageous to me. And now here's my president, President Obama.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand with me and raise your glasses as I propose a toast. To Her Majesty, the Queen, to the vitality of the special relationship between our peoples, and, in the words of Shakespeare, to this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, to the Queen.
All right, that's President Obama. Now, I don't want to dwell on this because I got a long show ahead of me, but I'm going to throw this out there. You're going to have to go look it up for yourself and tell me what you think. I'm glad to discuss it. Maybe I'll discuss this further. I'm sure I will again once I throw it out there. Just like the Queen of England is a monarch and the ruler of England, of the UK, and obviously and a quarter of the countries on Earth. The Rockefellers are what are the equivalent of royalty in this country. They are running everything out of the CFR and the Trilateral Commission, and the CFR is a Council on Foreign Relations. I'm going to go into that right next. I will tell you right now, folks, that I stumbled upon this. But I am not a truth birther. I didn't give a shit. Okay, I'm not. But I certainly don't believe that guy from Kenya is Obama's father. And for them, but for really, I don't believe that a guy who could come up from nothing. Okay, like the stupid story about a single mother somehow she's traveling around the world, going having a kid with a Kenyan guy who went to Harvard, and then she lived in Indonesia. That certainly doesn't sound very humble to me. But the bottom line is none of that's true. And I stumbled upon something I believe to be true, which is that Obama is the grandson of Nelson Rockefeller. His father is Michael Rockefeller. If you look it up, there's an uncanny resemblance between the Michael Rockefeller and Obama. That explains everything to me. How he is so comfortable with the Queen of England and royalty, and he has zero humility whatsoever. He's not even arrogant. He's beyond arrogant. I'm not so now. So if he has a white father, does that mean he has a brown mother? Yes. Okay. Michael Rockefeller disappeared in Papua New Guinea in 1961. There's loads of information that corroborates all these type of things that makes perfect sense. Obama was supposedly born in 1961. He was they wrote the book The Manchurian Candidate, which is about a guy who wanted to be president. He died relatively young. That would be Nelson Rockefeller, who died 70 years old. He's vice president of the United States. He was heir to the whole thing. Michael Rockefeller went to Papua New Guinea. If you look up what a woman in Papua New Guinea looks like. She has brown skin and has a little bit of an Asian look to her, that if you mix her with Michael Rockefeller, who looks exactly like Barack Obama, you will see that that's his father, and I believe that's where he comes from. That answers all the questions. But okay, I've said enough about that. Let's move on. So and it shows how he's comfortable. He's with, if you were with all due respect, I mean, if you were some black guy from Chicago, okay, and you would not be toasting the Queen like kissing her ass, okay? I hope not, okay? I hope not. If you have any humility at all, I'm not sure how ridiculous. I don't believe anybody would ever do that, let alone a guy who came up from nothing, okay? Anyway, let's keep it going. That stupid story about Kenya and everything makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, now, so we got the Queen of England, we got the Rockefellers, they're running the United Nations. Let's keep it going.
No, Your Majesty, this is a very serious problem. The peasants feel you have no regard for them.
What? I have no regard for the peasants. They are my people. I am their sovereign. I love them. Oh! Drifting to the left.
Your Majesty, the situation is worsening. The peasants may grow violent.
Violent, yes, stink. I hate violence. It's the one thing I detest. Violence. I abhor it. Oh! Fell like a stone.
That's not why I'm here.
Here.
Here, working at the UN, instead of standing on a road somewhere with a machine gun.
Because you believe in diplomacy?
Because I believe in this place. I believe in what it tries to accomplish.
Okay, so that was from the movie The Interpreter, by the way. That was Nicole Kidman, who's extremely attractive and extremely likable, obviously. So she's like, oh, I believe in what the UN, I believe in what they're trying to accomplish. That's to propagate or propagandize the moronic American iPhone diddling public who is going to be like, yeah. So all you need to do is throw a beautiful, slick woman like Nicole Kidman and say, oh, I believe in the UN. And then they're like, oh, I believe in it too.
It's a historical fact that many of these people have provided the funding, the essential funding to help bring to power regimes such as Hitler's regime that was well funded by American financiers and British, and also in communist Russia, the group there, the Leninist group, was well funded by American and London bankers.
Okay, so off the bat, the people who are running the United Nations are the American and British financiers, which would be the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Queen of England, Bank of England groups, and everybody knows, and it's well documented, and you can look it up yourself, that they funded the Hitler regimes and the Maoist regime in China and the Russian revolution and backed Stalin the whole way. And there you have it. And so there's your trilaterals right there. And those are the people who are trying to push world government on you and control your slave ass with a very fraudulent and very deceptive technique of a world government theater while everything's pulled the strings in the background. I'm going to show you what makes it a theater and why it's all fraudulent coming up in this show.
Events are moving with the 21st century speed, often outpacing the institutions and systems designed for another age.
Okay, so that was Ban Ki-moon, the puppet general of the United Nations, and he is going to tell you that, well, this is a new age and the technology is newer and everything's newer, so we need a new form of government, and he's implying, for any American who might be listening, that that's why your Constitution's kind of outdated already, and even though we based it on the Magna Carta, which is 1,000 years old, don't worry about that because it's Ban Ki-moon now, and he's the Secretary Jerk-Off General of the United Nations, so he's going to tell you, we're going to revamp everything for you. And what that means is you'll be relegated to a stupid slave, and we'll have a bunch of absolutely inbred slime bags trying to control you, period, okay? And what's going on now in my city particularly, but because that's where I'm familiar with, but apparently it's all over the world with this redesigning of cities and this Agenda 21. It disgusts me, to say the least. Let me keep it going from there.
He's also been described as the chairman of the board of America's ruling class. He has been pilloried regularly by the left and by the right for dancing with dictators and for conspiring to enslave the nation to the machinations of the Trilateral Commission.
Okay, that was a introduction of David Rockefeller again, where he's been accused of intending on enslaving the people of the world to his Trilateral Commission, which I will tell you is running the United Nations and our own government, along with the CFR, which is another Rockefeller-based organization. Those are the organizations that, when people are like, well, who is running it then, Max? Who's writing these scripts? If you think they're writing scripts, what do you mean? If I think I'll prove you it's obvious, okay? And I will tell you that's who, okay? These Trilateral Commission people and the CFR people. And now we're going to get into that, and I'll show. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a bunch of clips from the speeches from this year's United Nations. I got the Dutch guy, the Argentinian woman, the Dilma Rousseff, the Brazilian president, South African head of state, the Zimbabwean guy, the Cuban guy. They're all going to tell you about multilateralism, trilateralism, because that's who's running this thing, is the Trilateral Commission. We'll keep it going from there.
He's also been described as the chairman of the board of America's ruling class. He has been pilloried regularly by the left and by the right for dancing with dictators and for conspiring to enslave the nation to the machinations of the Trilateral Commission.
Conspiring to enslave the nation?
Dutch human rights policy stresses the importance of forging trilateral partnerships in different regions of the world.
The Dutch are down with trilateralism.
I'm a staunch supporter of multilateralism.
That's the Argentine lady. She's a staunch supporter of multilateralism. Multilateralism is just a way of just calling it the Trilateral Commission.
Uphold and reinvigorate the multilateral system, of which the United Nations is the main pillar.
That's a Brazilian.
Using existing instruments within the multilateral system of global governance.
The multilateral system of global governance. That's a South African, and you think, oh yeah, South Africans. Oh, I thought we got rid of apartheid and things like that. And so no, but the leader of the South African delegation to the United Nations, I think it might have been even the president of the South Africa. I'm not even frankly sure. You can check that yourself too. He's all for global governance, and so you don't think he's been bought off, or he's just a puppet? Okay, I mean he's not. He certainly doesn't give a crap about his own indigenous people of South Africa. That's for sure, because he's down with the people who were enslaving him and created apartheid to begin with. Okay, and that's just okay. So we got South Africa, we got Argentina, we got Brazil, we got the Dutch. Believe me, it's everybody. Okay, I just gave you some clips just to show you what they're. So they're all multilateral, they're all trilateral.
Member states have been provided with the means of reaffirming their faith in multilateralism.
Reaffirming your faith in multilateralism, meaning reaffirming your faith in the Trilateral Commission.
Zimbabwe supports the reform of the United Nations to strengthen the central role in promoting multilateralism.
Strengthening the central role and promoting multilateralism. That's Trilateral Commission. That's the multilateral is the Russian, China, European, American multilateral rule, if you will. And like I told you, Russians will get screwed from this. Chinese, I mean, we're all going to get screwed from this, obviously. Oh, obviously, but I would argue that the Russians won't even have representatives, nor will the Chinese, even though they might think they are, because anybody who's stupid enough to go along with this is not going to be represented accordingly, because we already know that the Rockefellers and the Queen of England don't give a fuck about us. That's for sure.
We guide ourselves and actions on a defense of a multilateral world.
We have renewed our country's commitment to multilateralism.
Okay, so Cuba. That was the Cuban guy. He's renewed his commitment to multilateralism, isn't he? I'm sure he bounced that off the people first.
An unshakable belief in the power of multilateralism.
That would be the Indonesian guy, okay, where our friend Obama was raised, and I would tell you that he was raised, like I told you, he was raised by in the wealthiest family in the world. Okay, he's the grandson of Nelson Rockefeller. That explains his meteoric rise to power and his seemingly Teflon, or even worse than Teflon. He acts like he can do no wrong. He can't, and all he does is just lie to you and propagate this world government agenda. Right? He certainly doesn't give a crap about the little guy, that's for sure. Okay, that's because he is not the little guy. He is the big guy. He is. Okay, and I would also tell you that when you hear Henry Kissinger and Brzezinski talk about him, they talk about him like they've known him since he's a child. Kissinger talks about him like it's his nephew or great or something like that. He's very fondly, he talks very fond of him, and he's very sure of him, okay? And that's certainly not indicative of some guy who came out of nowhere. And let's face it, American president does not come out of nowhere, okay? And to think that, I mean, I know a lot of people want to believe that, okay? And I am not one of these people who's against any racial composition of anybody. Okay, I think all people are the same on deep down, and I believe that there's great people from all over the world. Okay, but this guy is not some American black guy that everybody wants to believe he is. You're being deceived in that regard. Okay, so now. We got everybody's multilateral, trilateral, multilateral. Now let's just take a quick look at what several years ago, who was in the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, and I'll tell you that there's many, many, many more that haven't been touched upon here. But here's a quick clip.
Secretary of the Treasury, Timothy Geithner, Trilateral Commission member. Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, is a CFR member. She is also married to Trilateral Commission member William Jefferson Clinton. Ambassador to the United Nations, Susan Rice. Trilateral Commission. National Security Advisor General James L. Jones, Trilateral Commission and CFR. Deputy National Security Advisor Thomas Donilon, Trilateral Commission, CFR. Special State Department Envoy Henry Kissinger, Trilateral Commission and CFR. Chairman, Economic Recovery Committee, Paul Volcker, Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations. The Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Dennis C. Blair, Trilateral Commission, CFR. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, Trilateral Commission, CFR. Deputy Secretary of State James Steinberg, Trilateral Commission, CFR. State Department Special Envoy Richard Haas, Trilateral Commission and President of the CFR. State Department Special Envoy Richard C. Holbrooke, Trilateral, CFR. Obama Presidential Advisor Alan Greenspan, Trilateral Commission, CFR.
Right, and if you want to throw in a few more, Panetta, Trilateral, CFR. Kerry, pretty much sure. I'm pretty sure he's Trilateral, CFR. I think he might at least for sure CFR. Anybody, you name it. Okay, they are Trilateral and CFR. Especially the military guys, especially can be Trilateral. Now those are the two think tanks, so to speak. Think tank is a very nice way, antiseptic way of describing it. Those are the people behind the scenes who are running things, okay, and that is run out of and if you want to get anywhere in this government or this world government, you better be in with the people who run the Trilateral and the CFR. Who is that? The Rockefellers and the Queen of England. Okay, let's keep it going.
It's called the Council on Foreign Relations. It's a group in the United States with about 4,000 members at the most. And yet these people, number one, are all dedicated to building a new world order, a global government, based on the model of collectivism. And number two, you find them at the tops of most of the important organizations in this country. You find them in government. About half of our presidents and vice presidents and just about all of our secretaries of state and secretaries of defense and heads of the CIA and the FBI and all of the important positions in government. If you look at who these people are over the years, they're members of this Council on Foreign Relations. Most of the great universities they have as their president or their board of directors dominated members of the Council on Foreign Relations. The news channels, ABC, CBS, NBC, the Turner Broadcasting System, Murdoch. I mean, Murdoch is a well-known member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So all of these major power centers of society are in the hands of this small group, under 4,000 members. And so you ask who's behind it. If you want a list, that's a good place to start.
Very good place to start. You see their list, it's a list of everybody who's and you wonder why every single news channel is pumping you a load of garbage, okay? And none of it's true. It's because they all are members of the Council on Foreign Relations, that's their job, okay? Is to mislead and steer, particularly the American people among pretty much everybody in the world, and to make you think that you have some sort of choice or some sort of a participation in this world government, and you don't, and I don't. And I don't particularly care for that, and I don't particularly care for listening to some queen talk down to me like that. That's some bullshit to me, okay? And listen, I'm a very privileged person. I'm very fortunate. However, I don't think that anybody's kids are going to stand to go get over too well with a bunch of lying, criminal, inbred jerk-offs running them like this.
At the UN's founding conference in San Francisco, 43 of the U.S. delegates, virtually the entire contingent, were CFR members.
Okay, so they're saying they're telling you that that the entire contingent of representatives when they founded the United Nations in San Francisco were almost every single person was a CFR member. Okay, isn't that just dandy? Okay, and you wonder why and you wonder why these Rockefellers David Rockefeller founded the CFR, and he founded the United Nations, and now and you wonder why all the founding members and contingents of the United Nations are from the CFR. Oh yeah, well, it's not a coincidence. Okay, here's your man Cheney. He's a CFR member as well and Trilateral member.
Rockefeller's influence also extends to the current administration. He was chairman emeritus of the CFR when Vice President Dick Cheney once served as a director, a relationship that Cheney concealed during his congressional career.
Cheney once served as the director of the CFR, okay? And again, if you're one of these Northeast liberal people, you're going to find out that not only was Cheney a director of the CFR, now it's Richard Haas, who unfortunately actually went to my high school, which I'm not so proud of, okay? He would be considered a left-wing liberal Democrat, if you will. He's the president of the CFR. Cheney was the director of the CFR. I'm not sure what the difference in those titles is if there's any. Hillary, the next clip will be about Hillary. She's an on board and ass kisser of the CFR. Well, let's keep it going from there.
Thank you very much.
And they told you that when Cheney was vice president, Rockefeller was the chairman emeritus of the CFR. Well, he started it, so I guess chairman emeritus is his title.
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
I won't have far to go to be told what I should be doing.
I think she did
from the CFR. Isn't that just wonderful? I thought she works for our government. I thought we ran our government. Oh no.
I think she did mean it. Most people know in politics, they know that the Council on Foreign Relations is the center of all of this, that's where the power is. And you just don't get the green light to move up in politics unless the switch is thrown in the building there at the Council on Foreign Relations office. And she knows that she's got to get the approval of the CFR.
I fully support the United Nations.
We have legitimacy. We have received it from the United Nations Charter.
Hollande, he's the president of France, but he's like, we have legitimacy and we receive it from the United Nations. Okay, you don't have legitimacy from having been elected by your own people? Nah. All these people are traitorous, lying criminals, okay? And I'm just saying that, the people of this world have to wake up and reject this garbage.
The desired goal eventually is to move the United States into world government. Not just any world government, but a world government based on the model of collectivism. In other words, big, powerful, centralized world government.
China will firmly promote reform of the global governance system with the United Nations at its core.
China wants to reform the global governance system with the United Nations at its core. Again, that's a representative of China telling you that. So if you think that they're independent by any means and they're not going to be being run by the same people, you are goddamn kidding yourself.
In close cooperation with the European Union, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China.
There's your New World Order. There's your trilaterals or multilaterals right there.
An enduring international order.
Enduring international order. That's your man from Turkey.
China will firmly promote reform of the global governance system with the United Nations at its core.
The United Nations at the core of the global government system, and China's all down with that.
We are also trying to create a better international order.
Poland is trying to create a better international New World Order.
We have to continue to strive for a fair and just international order.
Okay, you thought Pakistan was a rogue state. No, but he's down with the United Nations, and he said we have to have a fair international order, which is a New World Order. See, he's reading the script written by the New World Order criminals, and he's from Pakistan. And you thought Pakistan was some rogue state that doesn't listen to us. No, that's theatrics. That's a show for you. It's a show for you while you're jerking off, playing with your iPhone. That's a show, and you're being told that you need to spend your tax money on bombing people in Pakistan. You will hear that the Pakistani government representative is saying that he needs a New World Order, okay, which is a one world government run by outright criminals. And let's keep it going.
China calls for greater representation and voice of developing countries in the global governance system.
China's all for global governance.
We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world.
South Africa wants a birth of a new world order. New world, okay? Again.
We, the international community, understood the imperative of working together for a stable world order.
Working together for a stable new world order. That's a world order. That's Turkey again.
The United Nations, the virtual world parliament, is our best hope.
Pakistan says the United Nations is a virtual world parliament.
There's a need for a new world order.
That's Kissinger. He needs a new world order.
As an old order is upended, and people grapple with what comes next.
Obama's an old world order is upended, and we have a new world order now.
You mark my words, he's got some, what do you call, grand strategy there that he can't divulge to us as yet.
Can't divulge that to us yet.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, so again, if you're some, you think that you're anti-Bush because he's a right wing or he's a Republican, and you think you're a liberal Democrat from New York, but Bush is telling you that we, excuse me, we not only want a new world order, but we want it run but he's going to talk about the glorious founders of the United Nations. He said that's who we're worried about, making happy, not the people of America, but the glorious founders of the United Nations. So and who are they? His father might have been one of them. Prescott Bush, certainly but he's towing the line for the Rockefellers and the Ford Foundation people, and the Fords and the Carnegies, okay, and the British royalty. Those are the people who want this new world order, and that's George W. Bush #1. Okay, and I'm sorry, but it's not just him; it's everybody. Okay, but for anybody who thinks that this is some sort of a haphazard thing that's just like when I'm putting together things that just happen to be coincidental, you are kidding yourself. Kidding yourself. We need a new world order. Bush 1.
The Bush family, for example, showing its connection to the Nazis in Germany, and the banking connection where they funded the rise of Adolf Hitler.
Right, and now we're talking about the Bushes and the Rockefellers and the Queen, all well known on record for having funded Hitler, Stalin, and Mao, the biggest mass murders in history of the world, and so arguably, or not even just arguably, obviously, these people are the one, and those are the people who are bringing you this world government, folks, the biggest mass murdering criminals of all time.
I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. A world where the United Nations is poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders.
Oh yeah, they want to poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders. Its founders on record, the Rockefellers, okay, and the Queen of England, and the Carnegies, and the frankly, it was the Rockefellers and the Queen of England and the European royalty. Those are the ones who founded this new world order, and we want the United Nations to fulfill their vision, man. Isn't that great? I mean, I don't know what the hell that has to do with freedom, and it doesn't. It's the opposite of freedom. Let's keep it going.
Have to shape an international order.
We kept talking about New World Order.
New World Order had to be assembled.
A truly peaceful and interdependent world order might be built.
And there is going to have to be some semblance of global governance.
The President outlined his vision of a new world order.
The New World Order.
I think a new world order is emerging.
New World Order can be created.
India and China are clearly becoming part of our new order.
We are ready to play our part in a new global partnership, and that it is only through this body, the United Nations, that this can be achieved.
Let us reorder this world around us.
Calling for a new world order.
The emergence of a new international order.
Build a new world order.
Some kind of a world government.
That new world order.
A truly global society.
And that is a new world order.
It could happen, and in fact it's in the works.
A new world order.
To build a new world order.
New world order.
A new world order can be created.
A new world order.
A new world order.
It is a new world order. A truly global society.
The phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
We've got to give them a stake.
A new world order.
In creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
An alignment under a global world government, a new global currency, and a new world order.
It appears to me that the family is going to have to be destroyed in order for the one world government to completely develop.
Those people in Washington, D.C. are not about the business of government, they are about the business of treason. They have sold us down the river. They're engaged in lies and deception and manipulation to bring us into a government that we would never accept willingly, nor would we even consider if we knew what was really going on.
I don't think most people even know that it's happening. And if they did know, they probably say, I don't think this is a good idea. So the trick has always been how to make this happen without getting the American people or the people in Britain or France or Germany or Mexico or Canada too much alarmed about it before it's too late.
The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice.
Certainly one of the most important principles embodied in the U.S. Constitution is the recognition that individual rights come from God, and the purpose of government is to protect those rights. The United Nations recognizes no God above the UN. The United Nations therefore recognizes no impediments or restrictions on its power.
Rome has changed. It takes an emperor to rule an empire.
Out of these troubled times, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace.
The answer to the question, what is the United Nations? The United Nations is a budding or building world totalitarian system.
And there you go. You have Bush telling you about, and you're being told, and it's obvious as obvious can be. You don't have to be told that the United Nations is a budding totalitarian system. Okay, I live in New York City. Okay, when they come into town, they have quote unquote diplomatic immunity, which means they can like break the law, our laws, with impunity. While just because they're from the United Nations, that's ridiculous to me. I don't see why anybody wouldn't have to obey obey the laws of any place that you go. I don't see. I know I have to, and I know you have to, and I know most people should and have to. Okay, whether you like the laws or not, you're obligated to obey, obliged to obey the orders that have been established by the so-called populations of these countries, okay, or especially this country. However, that's not the case with the United Nations. They roll around like they can do whatever the fuck they want, okay, including blocking traffic and what? Because some jerk off has to go eat dinner somewhere, and what he needs a security detail, like what? Because he's so important that we wouldn't want them to break a toenail or something like that. Whatever. This is it's a world totalitarian system brought to you by totalitarian people, okay, who have always been totalitarian and who support Hitler, support Stalin, support the totalitarian leaderships in all over the world, and we continue. I mean, we're buddies with all the dictators and all the and then supposedly people who actually were elected, whether or not you like them or not. Even Assad was supposedly elected. Okay, even and the Iranians are supposedly elected. Okay, but none of them are. Believe me, this is all rigged criminality. However, but we prefer like Chris Matthews said in my last show, like he's worried about the Hashemite kingdom. We're worried about the Queen of England. We're toasting the Queen of England on our knees. Okay, we're toasting the Saudi royalty. We're on all of them. Okay. This is disgust to me, okay, in a way, and why we have selectively are able to support totalitarian regimes all over the world, and I thought that back when I was a kid in the 70s, that we were all on our way to peace and freedom, and maybe I was naive and not paying attention, and I don't think a lot of this stuff has gotten as far as it is now. Okay, but well, of course it hasn't. But now we're just we embrace totalitarianism, and even my own friends are like, who claim to be liberal Democrats from New York. They're the most totalitarian people, and even my other friends and another friend of mine is telling me about how how the parents in the school where his kid is at are have this totalitarian thing going on too, and they try to squeeze people out and to intimidate children and things like that. It's just sick. Okay, and everybody thinks that they're going to come out okay at the end, and you're not. Okay, if you're buying into this stuff, you're going to get screwed in the end. Okay, because that's how mafiocratic systems work. Okay, you can't leave, you can't quit whenever you feel like it. And that's why a lot of people, including other people that I know, like Bill Cosby's son, who is my great friend, Ennis Cosby. These people, he was murdered by insiders while they were extorting his father for I'm sure giant amounts of money. And if you don't want to play ball, that's what happens. You end up having somebody who you love dearly killed or hurt or whatever. And that's all this is not about some Italian mafia or something like that. This is a world global criminal mafia running things and cheating and stealing your bank account and your pensions, and it's not cool, and it's not going to end well if you think you're buying into it. Okay, now if you're scared and you think, well, I don't want to lose my job, whatever, good for you, but I'm telling you that will not end well for you. That's exactly what you're playing into their hands. Let's keep it going.
The corporation took my wife away because an executive wanted her.
There you go. That was from Rollerball, and he's a famous sports star, and he took his wife because some executive wanted her.
We need global regulations for global governance.
Okay, that's the Argentine. You would think, you think the Argentine leader, they just been through it all. You'd think that she might be a little bit rebellious, but I don't know. She's on the opposite end. She's already, they put in their people, and now, and that's why. And I just spoke to an Argentine friend of mine yesterday, and he's like, my country is such a mess. It's just horrifying. Okay, he hasn't gotten any better. Okay, you could say they haven't learned lessons. No, the people have lost control, and they don't have any control, and they're being run by corporate mafiocratic criminals out of the United Nations, the UN, the Trilateral Commission, and she's a trilateralist too. The Argentinian teen woman, I forgot her name, Kirchner or something like that.
Beyond crisis diplomacy, the United Nations is the central forum for setting binding objectives for the international community.
That's the German representative who said that the United Nations sets binding objectives for the international community. In other words, a totalitarian.
The United States is a police state. There's no doubt about it.
Wait here. And so the Germans are saying the United Nations sets binding objectives. Then we have the United States is a police state.
The United States is a police state. There's no doubt about it.
Wait here for a person of authority to arrive.
Yes, you're living in a police state. Your government is evil. Holy nightmare.
Batman, could it be? I don't know.
The United States is a police state that masquerades as a democracy.
And don't kid yourself. It's looking like they're setting it up everywhere. Okay?
The people being at the bottom being ruled from above. Not that the people have any voice in determining the direction of their government or the world, but they are to be told what the direction is, and they're to be told to follow it.
They live in virtual reality, an artificial world. They have no idea what's true, what's false. They're propagandized by the media. Not too many of them get any alternative information. It's just the way it is.
You've got your local regions within your states and sometimes breaking the borders, and then you've got 11 mega regions in the United States. You thought you had 50 states, but no you don't. Now you have 11 mega regions, and you can go to America2050.org if you want to check that out.
The 11 mega regions is because the United Nations is already starting to regionalize things. They regionalize power. There won't be any, they've already raised the borders of counties and states, and soon it'll be countries, and that's the direction it's going in, and that's why America doesn't have states anymore. It has 11 mega regions. You can look it up on America, 2050.org. I think that's what she said. You can check that. And I was over there just the other day just to make sure that that's still in effect. Yes, it is. You can check out. There's 11 mega regions. Then you have the Norwegian representative talking about regionalization is good.
This emergence of regional institutions as a feature of global governance is in fact good news for the United Nations.
Okay, the Norwegian says this emergence of global governance is good news for the United Nations. That's the Norwegian representative. What the hell would he say that for? Okay, you know why? Because they're all on board with this garbage. You get it? They're all on board with it. They're all compromised. They're all puppets of this totalitarian world government regime. Period.
We've seen the nations of Europe amalgamate into the European Union. The sovereignty of all of the European nations has been pretty well lost now to the European Union, and they've always said that was a stepping stone toward the creation of a true world government, is to unite the smaller governments of the world first into regional groupings, such as the European Union. They have one in mind for Asia and Africa, and now they're talking about doing the same on the North American continent, called the North American Union, and it'll be a merger of the United States, Mexico, and Canada. A process that they deny that is underway, but it is definitely underway.
Exactly. People say, oh, no, they're not going to do that. And you know what? I might even have thought that at one point. But no. Every single thing, at first they put it out there and and they ridicule it. And then they laugh. We all get a big laugh out, like, oh, no, you're crazy. Oh, Max is crazy for saying that. And then eventually it happens. And that's how it works.
The Commonwealth is a family of 53 nations, all with a common bond, shared beliefs, mutual values and goals.
There's your Commonwealth. She said 53. The other time she said 54. That was a speech before her own government. That's your queen again. 53 nations. A lot of nations, folks. It's more than a quarter of the whole world.
We, the CELAC member states, feel proud of being able to work together to consolidate our regional sovereignty.
Okay, so the Cuban representative, who they've been put in charge of the CELAC Caribbean and Latin American countries group, and Cuba somehow is in charge of that. They said they're consolidating the sovereignty of those of the CELAC states. Okay, so you got the consolidation of the CELAC state, the Latin American sovereignty. They're consolidating it. That and run by Cuba, who's obviously right on board with this again. And we demonize them. Oh, Cuba, they're Castro, they're this and this. No, they're not. Okay, they've already been long overtaken and controlled by the same world government criminals. And when that happens is when they control your country, they rape your resources, they impoverish all the people. The people live like stupid peasant slaves and beg for food, and they give you a stipend or a pittance, and they steal everything that your country ever had, and use that to line the pockets of the quote unquote elitists. Those are the people who are better than you, by the way. And so now we got the CELAC states, the Latin American and Caribbean states. They're consolidating their sovereignty. We have a guy telling you that they're going to do the North American Union, North American Union, which will be Mexico, Canada, and United States. It's going to be worse than that. South America, I guess they're involved. They're included in the CELAC. Then you got the African Union, which will be all of Africa. Africa, they just plan to exterminate all the peoples of Africa and use that as a big fat farm. Okay, and then And if you think your man Obama is going to look out for the brown skinned people, you have got to be kidding me. And nor will any of the people who are on board in Africa, who are criminal puppets working for these same criminals. Also, they don't give a crap about their own people either. Just like almost everywhere else. Okay, people are bought off. Okay. And they give one person a few dollars. Everybody else is a slave peasant getting vaccinated and exterminated. And then you have the Europeans who are absolutely brain dead also, and they're so busy. They're so busy feeling themselves that they're in the same boat with Americans. They're just arrogant and not paying attention, and they're too busy exalting their monarchies and while they are locked down like stupid slaves. And it's not going to end well, because if you think that they're going to look out for you once they got you locked down, you're kidding yourself. Absolutely kidding yourself. So she's overseeing. So she's going to secure the good governance of the overseas territories. Well, I haven't played that one yet. Here we go.
My government will ensure the security, good governance and development of the overseas territories.
Okay, so she's ensuring good governance, and then I was like, oh, wow, why isn't everybody else saying good governance, too? You know why? Because they're ensuring the good governance of the overseas territories from their queen.
Economic reforms and good governance.
Okay, that's Australia, good governance. Now the African country of Gabon.
Sustainable development must indeed be accompanied by good governance.
Okay, sustainable development, good governance. That's Ali Bongo, who, frankly, his sister her name's Yaya Bongo, and actually known her for many years. And she's she lives in New York. She lives on Fifth Avenue. She's just she's nice. She's very spoiled, and she's got loads of money, and I would call her rather generous, frankly. But she's her brother. Her father was the president of Gabon, and now her brother is, okay, and he's obviously down with he's on board with the global government program, and that's how that's what people do. They get down with that, and they impoverish their own countries and their own people, and when they're done with you, they kick you to the curb. And when the African Union comes into place, those people will be scrounging for their next meal as well.
We must provide good governance.
Okay, that's your Malaysian representative talking about good governance, like the Queen.
The principles of good governance.
Okay, that's the Qatar representative. He's talking about good governance.
Thus contributing to good governance.
That's your Latvian president talking about good governance. And then you're like, well, maybe some people use that phrase, Max. I'm like, no, they're not. That's a scripted part of that. Those are all in the same script. So I'm going to show you a multitude of proof. Well, I'm going to prove that outright to you, that every single word from every single country in the United Nations is scripted and written by the same people out of the same offices, which I would call the Trilateral and CFR offices, period. Okay, you think that good governance is just is proof? No, it's not. Proof enough. It's proof, but I will show you that proof beyond any reasonable doubt whatsoever. But the funny thing is that they say good governance. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to. Good governance means that's the Queen. That's the Queen's terms. So that she's like, good governance means you're doing what I tell you, what the Queen tells you to do.
My government will ensure the security, good governance and development of the overseas territories.
Economic reforms and good governance.
Sustainable development must indeed be accompanied by good governance.
We must provide good governance.
The principles of good governance.
Thus contributing to good governance.
Contributing to good governance. That's a Latvian guy, and yep.
Step by step, this structure of world government based on the model of collectivism is being erected.
Oh yes. Now here's a little clip that I found from it was a TV movie with Peter O'Toole, who's a legendary actor. He was kind of good in, he's very dramatic, and he's kind of got this very kind of a smirky funniness to him in a way. And he played Augustus, who was the first Caesar well, it was Julius Caesar, and then they still call Augustus the first Caesar and he ruled the world. He was in Rome, and his name is Augustus, okay? And then I'm like, wow. Then I noticed that when I was listening to all these speeches, I'm like, why is everybody using the same word, which is August, okay? Not the month August, but the word August, which means esteemed or distinguished. And I'm like, I never use that word, and I have a rather extensive vocabulary. But then I'm like noticing that that not only are the people is everybody using that word, which is relevant to the Roman Empire of Caesars, okay, which is interesting also. But also, not only that, but the interpreters are interpreting that word from other languages. So if you're speaking Arabic, you say a word and it somehow interprets into August. That's ridiculous, okay? That's proof that it's all scripted, okay? And listen to how many Augusts I got from different countries. I got Serbia, Liberia, Madagascar, Suriname, Tunisia, Mali, Somalia, Pakistan, Nigeria, Barbados, Tunisia, Afghanistan, Angola, South Africa, okay? They all said August, and I promise you there was more, but I thought that would be convincing enough. And like I said, not only are they saying it, but they're all using it, okay, in their speeches, which is proof that they're being written by the same people. Let me just show you it. And the interpreters are interpreting the word August out of whatever language you're speaking, which is even more ridiculous. Okay, here's the first one. It's from the Serbian guy. He's speaking in Serbian, and the interpreter says August.
I would like to congratulate your predecessor, His Excellency Mr. Vuk Jeremic, the former President of the General Assembly, on his courage and impeccable presiding over this august assembly in the past year.
Okay, that's the Serbian interpreter interpreting August from a word in Serbian.
The 68th session of this august body.
That's a Liberian leader.
I have this privilege to address this August Assembly.
That's a Madagascarian representative, and that's an interpreter also interpreting the word August from whatever language they were speaking from the Madagascar representative.
The government of Suriname strongly recommends to this August Assembly.
Suriname, he uses the word August. He's very articulate for a guy who's not terribly articulate in general, because if you watched him reading his speech, he's literally struggling reading it. But he knows the word August, and he put that in his speech along with the interpreters from other countries.
The government of Suriname strongly recommends to this August Assembly.
From this August rostrum.
The August rostrum, that's another word. They use a lot, rostrum. Go look that one up. That's a Tunisian guy.
It is for me a badge of honor to address this august assembly.
Okay, that was the interpreter of the Malian president, the new Malian president from Mali. He said August too, okay?
We are meeting in this august place.
Okay, that's another August.
Members of this august body.
Somalia said members of the August body, okay? And that's Somalian guy.
I wish to emphasize to this august assembly that Pakistan is a strong supporter of multilateral diplomacy.
Okay, and Pakistan is addressing the August Assembly, and they're multilateraling us. Okay, Pakistan, there you go, Mr. They're very much a rogue state. They're not under full control. No.
We urge this August Assembly to endorse Nigeria's candidature.
Okay, Nigerian guy said August in English.
Mr. President, our first Prime Minister, now national hero, the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, in his maiden speech to this august body on December 9th.
Okay, the Barbados representative calls it an August assembly.
We are meeting in this august place.
Okay, now the Tunisian guy said August twice in his speech, which is kind of crazy, okay?
I have the honor of addressing this August Assembly.
Okay, that's the honor of addressing the August Assembly. That's the African representative, and he's also, that's the Afghanistani representative, and he's also that's an interpreter. So he's got the and so he's interpreting it from the Afghanistan language.
We hope to count on the support of all the states that make up this august assembly.
That's the Angolan representative from Angola. They also had the August Assembly.
It is an honor and a privilege for me to once again address this august body.
Okay, and there you go. The South African representative also is addressing the august body, Augustus, the first Caesar of Rome.
What am I, a schmuck on wheels?
Okay, so so I showed you how they're scripting that. Now I'm gonna play you a few clips in a row from this Rouhani interpreter. Rouhani, the new representative of president of Iran, and I will show you that this is just insane. Okay, so now not only is he reading it, but he stumbles through all the words. Okay, I will show you what I mean by that. Okay, and he's not even attempting to pretend he's interpreting anything. So why would you need a guy who can't even read in English and has a sloppy accent with where he's just all over the place and he sounds insane? Okay, why would you do that? Because that's what you want to represent the people of the stupid nose-picking people of the world. That Iran's just a bunch of stupid idiots, and even their interpreter is stupid and insane. Okay, and why people can't grasp this is proof positive that this is all nonsense. Okay, here's a few clips right in a row from the Rouhani interpreter. Okay, and you're gonna see for yourself. Okay, and so why? Okay, now if you are any country, okay, I mean especially a relatively wealthy country like Iran, and with a giant, a huge population, and they're an ancient country, okay, and like I told you, I know Iranians who are quite super sharp and intelligent, okay, and I was the impression I got about all Iranians when I met them, okay, that they're super sharp and intelligent people. They're not a bunch of like nobody. Well, you know what? I haven't met all. According to the American media and the European media, that they'll lead you to believe that everybody's an idiot except for you. And that's another way to play people like idiots. Okay. So anyway, Rouhani has an interpreter who's an insane maniac, okay, and he can't even read. He's stumbling through words that he's reading, okay, because if you're interpreting a word, you don't mispronounce it, okay, right? You don't mispronounce words that you're interpreting. You mispronounce words that you're reading. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's go. This is Rouhani's interpreter. I'm going to play you a few in a row from him.
This propagandistic discourse has assumed dangerous proportions through portrayal and inculcation of presumed imaginary threats.
Okay, so there he was trying to say inculcation, which would be the repetitious teaching, or even you might even say indoctrination, a repetitious teaching. Inculcation, and then he even pronounce inculcation right. And like, what is he? That's a. So now he's interpreting inculcation. He's using a word that he can't even pronounce as an interpreter in Farsi. Are you kidding me? Okay, again, and I played you the original clip from from him, in the beginning of the show where the United Nations, where he says he talks about the people and their elites. Okay, so and again, I'm telling you that this is being written for him. And again, if you're a representative of an independent country, why would you need some guy from the CFR or the Trilateral Commission or a Rockefeller think tank to submit a speech that you are reading, that representing your own country, but they're writing it for you? Are you kidding me? And not only that, but you wouldn't reject that and say, I'm not writing this. I'll read my own thing. But not only that, but then they I guess they implement the they pick your interpreter as well, right? So they pick your interpreter, and then who's a moron, okay? And he says inculcation, he can't even pronounce it, which is intentional sort of intentional too, okay? I would actually even argue that this guy is that good. He's that good an actor that he's intentionally mispronouncing things and he's intentionally made to sound crazed and stupid because that's the way they want to portray the Iranian representative, okay, or the president. And they're like, oh yeah, and then everybody else would be like, oh yeah, we're really happy that the new Iranian president is in touch with us and discussing things. And then, but he's so stupid. But he's running a whole country, yet he can't even get an interpreter who can who can pronounce words properly. And we're gonna write his script for him, even though he's such a rogue. Wild man, but he's like, oh, you got my speech for me? You ready? Okay, so anyway, so it's inculcation. Let's keep it going. This is all Rouhani interpreter. This is from his speech at the United Nations. I know you guys don't watch this. You just watch what they told you to think. They're like, oh, do you believe Rouhani's speech in the United Nations today? And then you'll watch what they told you, what Rachel Maddow tells you on fucking MSNBC or whatever, and you won't even listen to what he says. But if you watch the speech itself, like I did, you will see that they're playing you for an absolute moron, and they're using an absolute moron to play you for an absolute moron, which makes you even a bigger moron, okay? And you know what? And I'm sorry, folks, but that's the way it is, okay? I don't know why any country would need somebody else to... there's not anybody in Iran who can write a good speech for the guy? Of course there is. Of course there is, okay? But they're not using that. You know why? Because they're not representing the people of Iran. They're not representing the people of any place in any of these speeches, okay? This is all theatrics, okay? While they run things behind the scene and rob people behind the scene and run by a bunch of inbred slime bag monarchists and mafiocrats from this country, okay? And this is not going to end well, and I'm not pleased about this. That's just what they're doing to my country and my city, where they're redesigning everything here. It's just a joke, okay? Let's keep it going.
This propagandistic discourse has assumed dangerous proportions through portrayal and inculcation of presumed imaginary threats.
And he doesn't make any sense either. Keep it going.
The prevalent international political discourse depicts a civilized center surrounded by uncivilized peripheries.
Okay. Besides the fact that it doesn't make any sense, besides the fact that he said discourse twice already, then he says peripheries. He means peripheries, okay? Again, why would you mispronounce a word that you're interpreting, okay? That's proof positive that it's not being interpreted, that he's reading it, and he's reading it improperly. I would also tell you that I don't even think anybody's that dumb either, that either they found some kid who's an insane maniac to read it for him and call him, and he's a Farsi interpreter. Get out of here. Okay, but you see, that's what they lead you to believe. So, like, yeah, that's what Iran does. That's how stupid they are in Iran. That's how crazed they are in Iran. So he says peripheries. Okay, it's not even done yet, and he says discourse for the third time. Okay, so anyway, let's keep it going here. So here's the Rouhani peripheries, and then and frankly, don't get me wrong. You know, you could replay it 10 times. I don't know what the hell he's even talking. You know, he's not even really. It's just confusing language, to say the least. And that's nothing to do with any Iranian I've ever met. Okay, they're very bright people, the ones I know. Okay, period. And like I said, when I went to school, I was like, does every one of them have Rolls Royces? I mean, is that all they drive or something like that? I mean, you know, and I was in real estate business for a long time in New York City, and I promise you, some of the most powerful, richest families, and I'll name their names. It was Kalimian, Manachurian, El Ganyan. Okay, those are some of the richest and very shrewd real estate people in this whole giant city, which is one of the richest cities on earth, okay? And I promise you, they are not stupid, and they can hire a guy. They know how to hire a guy who can pronounce words, whether he's reading it or not, okay? Let's keep it going.
The prevalent international political discourse depicts a civilized center surrounded by uncivilized peripheries. In this picture, the relation between the center of world power and the peripheries is hegemonic.
hegemonic is not it doesn't translate from Farsi either, I guarantee you. And then he said peripheries, and he said peripheries. It's peripheries, okay? So he got it right both times, and he's reading it, okay? Period. Keep it going.
Hope is, no doubt, one of the greatest gifts bestowed upon human beings by their all-loving Creator.
Hope is bestowed upon humans by their all-loving Creator. It's Creator again. Come on, guys. What's? Come on already. Okay, this is to portray the Iranian as like some crazed maniac. But if you even bothered to listen to it, which I'm sure you didn't, okay. But this is all this is nonsense, okay. And this is proof positive that this whole United Nations is a goddamn joke, and not only the United Nations but the whole world political scene. Okay, period. Okay, because there's no way this would happen in any semblance of real life, okay? But that's how stupid they think you are. That's the key here. That's how stupid they think the people of the world are, and and I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, but I know a lot of people who really buy into this stuff, and I'm like, come on, guys, already, come on.
Hope is, no doubt, one of the greatest gifts bestowed upon human beings by their all-loving Creator. Iran poses absolutely no threat to the world or the region. In fact, in ideals as well as in actual practice, my country has been a harbinger of just peace and comprehensive security. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so on that one, he mispronounces harbinger, okay, forever, whatever that's worth, and he says harbinger. And I'm like, again, that's a misreading of a script, not the mispronunciation of an interpreted word, okay, that's ridiculous, okay, and that's outright proof again that this is scripted, and outright proof that the president of Iran is reading a script prepared for him in English by an American or a Western scriptwriter who's writing all the scripts for everybody at the United Nations. Okay, and you guys gotta wake the frig up.
If you only had a brain.
You're not dealing with morons here.
Oh, no, that's for sure.
Pursuit of expansionist strategies and objectives and attempts to change the regional balance through proxies cannot be camouflaged behind humanitarian rhetoric.
Okay, so he says camouflaged, okay? That's another mispronunciation of a word you're reading, okay? And then I'm like listening to Zimbabwean guy, and then he says camouflage properly, but in the same context as that hegemony of the Western powers, okay, which is NATO and these things, are camouflaged in humanitarian rhetoric, which is, I guess, we have to go over there and save them. It's a humanitarian crisis. And so then the Zimbabwean president, Mugabe, says the same thing about camouflage. He uses the word, he can pronounce the word camouflage, but again, this is all, so now they're writing, so it's written, the same thing is written into Mugabe's script, again, a guy who's been demonized as you know, with the Zimbabwean dollar and the printing of their money and things like that, and then they have Rouhani's guy talking about the and in a way that's going to be like something that's actually going to be sort of true in a way, they're attacking other countries and trying to steal their sovereignty and their national and their resources, but disguised or camouflaged in humanitarian rhetoric, and then the Zimbabwean guy will tell you it's camouflage in humanitarian rhetoric or something of the sort. So he's got that written to his script, and he pronounces the word camouflage correctly.
The decisions of the General Assembly, of the Security Council rather, have provided camouflage to neo-imperialist forces of aggression, seeking to militarily intervene in smaller countries in order to effect regime change and acquire complete control of their wealth.
There you go. So at least the Zimbabwean guy can articulate it properly. And after listening, when you listen to the Rouhani interpreter guy, he's such a maniac that it's hard to really follow it. So you have to really bear down, and I had to really like listen to it over and over, and then chop it up and clip it up just to try to present it to you, because it was insane. And he's camouflaged, he said.
And this itself should be the biggest giveaway as to what the reality of politics is today. If anybody that's got their eyes open, they ought to be able to see it.
The bitter and ugly realities of the human society can only be overcome through recourse to and reliance on human wisdom.
Okay.
Investing in the
so the Iranian guy says he says discourse again, and he says that we have to end reliance on human wisdom. He said, that's the only way we're going to work through this thing. He says, if you guys just turn your brains off and let us handle it, you can let the big father of the United Nations handle it for you. And that's exactly what's going on here. That's your Rouhani little segment. Just insane. And I think it's clear proof that they're writing these scripts even for the Iranian, even for for everybody, okay, for every single country on earth, okay, which means that this is all a theater and none of it has anything to do with anything real politics, or certainly has nothing to do with representing anybody, any of the people of this world, okay, that's for sure. And why we would stand for that and let the Queen of England and the Rockefellers run it for us, you've got to be nuts to think that, and that's kind of how it's going to end. It's not going to end well, and these people are lying, murdering criminals, period.
It is obvious that a genuine partnership is hardly achievable without relying on the foundations of economic cooperation.
Okay, so that was the Lavrov interpreter. He speaks so fast that he couldn't possibly be interpreting it, and I believe that he's doing it just to blow things past you, because it takes a lot of time to listen to it. Okay, and to read to understand it, because he's speaking. They hired the guy from like that Federal Express commercial, you know, where they write they say this disclaimer like blah, 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 blah. That's what he did there. Listen to him. Then there's loads of clips like that from the Lavrov guy. He's just reading it so fast that it's not interpreting. He's reading it. He's reading it fast. Listen to what he says. So he's going to talk about. Again, we have to let the United Nations control the economic. This is a little segment about the economic control of the monetary systems and the economic mechanism. Everybody's talking about the same thing. These are all clips from these speeches.
It is obvious that a genuine partnership is hardly achievable without relying on the foundations of economic cooperation.
Okay, a genuine partnership is not achievable without the relying on the partnership of economic cooperation, which is like a communist / economic communism speech clip from Lavrov.
Investing in the UN is an investment in our common future.
Okay, that's the Dutch guy.
The prevailing majority of states are interacting within the WTO, and in this sense, they are operating already in the common economic space.
The post-2015 agenda cannot possibly succeed without the active support of the G20 and institutions of economic cooperation and governance, such as the International Monetary Fund or the World Trade Organization.
Okay, so they're trying to tell you that the international IMF and the World Trade Organization are going to run your economies for you. Again, that the United Nations wants to run everything for you.
China calls for reforming the international monetary and financial systems and upholding the role of the World Trade Organization as the main channel.
Okay, so they want to put the WTO, the World Trade Organization, in charge, and the International Monetary Fund. That's China calling for that. China says, we're calling for that, China. Oh, thanks.
We need global governance, global financial governance, and we need it fast.
The people do not control their government. They think they do, but they don't. Their politicians are beholden to the banking fraternity, to the Federal Reserve, to the banking cartel. That's where the power resides today. And if you need to have any proof of that. All you have to do is just take a look at the recent history of the bailout of the banks against the will of the majority of the American people, against the anger of the majority of the American people, and nevertheless, Congress went right ahead and did it. The President of the United States endorsed it. Everybody was for it at the top, but at the bottom, the people did not want it. So how is that possible? If the people control their own government, could that happen? No. It's proof positive that the people of the United States have lost control of their own government.
Quigley also described their ultimate goal:
to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole.
Right. Their intention is to dominate and to control the economies of every country as a whole, and now they're telling you well, China said, oh yeah, we think the WTO, the World Trade Organization, should be in charge of that. We need global financial governance. That's Jean-Claude Trichet. He told us that. He's the head of the Bank of International Settlements, among other things. Okay, these are the top. That's the top banker, and he's the bank. That's the Federal Reserve of Federal Reserves. Okay, this is all a very, very carefully and very elaborate plan to enslave your stupid ass. Okay, and to steal everything from you. Okay, and it's not cool at all, and I'm not down with it at all. Okay, and we got a bunch of puppet liars working for, having scripts written for them by criminals, pumping it to you like it's all good, fine, and dandy.
Despite all the flags fluttering on First Avenue, there are no nations anymore, only companies, international companies. It's where we are, it's what we are.
We intend to promote new partnerships between the private and the public sectors.
That was the Italian leadership representative. He said, we intend to promote public-private partnerships, which is fascism. And it's not, no, because when the government picks and chooses which partnerships or which government and favors different private companies, that's a recipe for giant disaster. That's a recipe for slavery. That's not cool. And you got the Italian representative at the United Nations telling you that, oh yeah, well, we intend to promote that.
Nations are bankrupt, gone. None of that tribal warfare anymore. Even the corporate wars were a thing of the past.
Yeah, well, I know that.
So now we have the majors and their executives. Transport, food, communication, housing, luxury, energy. A few of us making decisions on a global basis for the common good.
Okay, so that's a clip from Rollerball 1975, where John Houseman, with his very famous candor and style, said that we have the people in charge of, there's the corporate energy, housing, luxury, and he said they make global decisions on a global basis for the common good. Isn't that nice?
Fascism is mega corporations taking over your government and shutting down their competition, okay? That's what it is. The New World Order is a global fascist banking cartel takeover of the planet.
Once again, not always the biggest fan of Alex Jones, but he says that well, and I've used that clip many times in my show before, and I'll use it again. He's exactly right on that. It's they're running us, okay, like idiots.
Fascism is mega corporations taking over your government and shutting down their competition, okay? That's what it is. The New World Order is a global fascist banking cartel takeover of the planet.
There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and ITT and AT&T and DuPont, Dow, Union Carbide, and Exxon. Those are the nations of the world today.
Now everyone has all the comforts, you know that. No poverty, no sickness, no needs, and many luxuries which you enjoy just as if you were in the executive class. Corporate society takes care of everything. And all it asks of anyone, or has ever asked of anyone ever, is not to interfere with management decisions.
Yeah, that means shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave!
You know that you are being run by people who are insane, and you don't know.
Social justice for later, once economic growth is assured.
Ban Ki-moon told you social justice for later, once economic growth is secured. Once we control your economy, then you'll get your social justice. Yeah, right. And that's the Secretary General puppet of the United Nations, that jerk off.
Let us therefore develop and apply an effective monitoring mechanism to show to the world that we are indeed serious.
That's the Liechtenstein representative, the country of Liechtenstein. She's like, yeah, we need to have a global monetary mechanism or economic mechanism that's run out of United Nations. Yeah, thanks, Liechtenstein.
I expect that attention will also be focused on putting in place a global economic mechanism to...
Okay, that's the interpreter of the Serbian representative, and she says, yeah, I expect that we'll have a global economic mechanism put in place as well. Oh, thanks, Serbia.
The United States will at times work with governments that do not meet, at least in our view, the highest international expectations, but who work with us on our core interests.
Right, so Obama's like, doesn't matter if you don't meet international expectations, meaning like we'll work with anybody who's down with robbing their people, and Obama's like, yeah, like oh, thanks, Obama. Are you're representing American people? Like, yeah, we're down with that. We're down with them. We don't care if you're a slime bag. Now, I don't even want to go there and say and name who he seems to might be implying those people are, because that's fraudulent as well, as I've been discussing with you about. I'm not sure who those people are that aren't in international favor, because I certainly wouldn't think anything that we're doing is should be in international favor either. And but he's like, as long as you work with us on our core interests, because I guess he figures Americans are like, yeah, we only want if it's good for me, then I don't care if they're criminals or not.
The UN must acquire more ways of working together, not just with the business world and the world of finance, but also with civil society and philanthropic organizations. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so that was Ban Ki-moon speaking in French, so he has an interpreter from when he spoke in French, and he's saying that the UN wants to start working more with with everybody to steal some more money from you if you want.
We just need cash.
Yeah, that's Clinton, of course.
We call on countries to enhance macroeconomic policy coordination and be mindful of the spillover effects of their respective adjustment of economic policies.
Okay, China says we want to the spillover effect, and economic coordination amongst nations, which is, again, that's your world global financial governance.
The goal should be to devise a system of global financial governance.
They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen.
Pakistan is an ardent supporter of the United Nations, which is an anchor of peace and a beacon of hope for all nations.
Yeah, Pakistan's not on board.
Germany remains committed to the United Nations. A strong United Nations is in Germany's interest.
It's in Germany's interest, not German people's interest, just Germany's interest. Yeah, okay.
I would like for the Secretary General's powers of inquiry to be strengthened.
Hollande says he wants the powers of the Secretary General to be strengthened. Thanks, Hollande. Again, these people are all traitorous criminals.
We're all in this together. We should invest together in our United Nations.
That's the Dutch guy.
They all lie. They all make promises they don't intend to keep, and in fact do not keep. They're all involved in all kinds of scams and swindles.
France is fighting with Europe for the introduction of innovative financing. First, the tax on airline tickets.
Right, they don't want you moving around too much. That's clear. Okay, so France is like, yeah, let's do a new tax. Let's do a global tax on airline tickets. And France is all for that. Oh, thanks, Arlan. Why yes and outside of the United Nations, I don't know either. But that's because this is all about global governance and global totalitarianism, and run by a bunch of totalitarian criminals. Okay, again, who are all about stealing from you and robbing from you and killing you and murdering people and exterminating people and stealing their shit, if you will. And I think this is a well supported argument here.
China is ready to...
It's beyond an argument. It's the obvious truth. It's the obvious reality, folks. China's down.
China is ready to deepen cooperation with the UN and get more actively involved in UN activities in various fields.
Right, they bought off the leadership of China, and I'm sure they told them, oh yeah, don't worry, you're in on it, and because China has to, and they seemingly have their population under control. I doubt that anybody will ever have these people will be able to control anybody at one point when people start waking up and figuring it out. But right now they're still in the dark and not paying attention, obviously, and other people are worrying about, and you're manipulating through fear and fake terror and all these other things. Keep it going.
We are seeking reform of the United Nations, so that its power to build consensus, to establish global rules and act effectively in response to crises and conflicts is demonstrably strengthened.
That's Germany again, and they want to strengthen the United Nations, strengthen the because that's their people. That's not he's not talking about the German people want that. She's not talking about the German, or the interpreter isn't talking about the German people want that. They're talking about the Nazi remnants of the Third Reich in cahoots with the Nazi financiers of Europe and England and of the United States. Those are the people who want to strengthen the United Nations. Of course they do, because they founded the United Nations, and they are the United Nations, okay? And they are the totalitarian rulers who want to control us in all different types of ways. And this show is moving right along. We're getting down, well, almost coming down the back stretch. I'd say we're coming around the back turn, and we're gonna keep it going. Let's keep it going. So we need to. Everybody's like, we need to strengthen the United Nations power. All these criminal China, Netherlands, France, Holland and France, Germans. They all want to strengthen the United Nations power. Like it's not out of control enough.
The stakes are clear. We who want to reaffirm the central role of our organization in international governance must give it the means of carrying out that leadership role by being ambitious and resolute in our task.
That was a Swiss representative, and she's the interpreting for the Swiss guy, and he's saying, oh yeah, we have to reaffirm the faith and power of the international global governance. As the Swiss representative. So these are all these powerful European representatives and China and Asia and China, and we got the Turkish guy, and they're all in on, okay? And they're all which means they've all been taken over and controlled, and none of them are consulting their people in any regard whatsoever. I'm certainly, as an American, haven't been consulted. We're way too distracted for that. Way too distracted for that.
We need to encourage countries to recognize compulsory jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice.
Okay, so the Netherlands representative says we need to recognize compulsory jurisdiction of the International Court. Okay, in other words, they're going to tell you what to do. They're like, "Oh, sorry, International Court ruled against you, buddy. They want compulsory. He wants it's a compulsory relinquishment of sovereignty is what he's talking about. Okay, and again, that's the Dutch person. What do they got over there? Well, they got a king over there. It used to be Queen Beatrix. She just got old and she turned it over to her son, King Wilhelm. Okay, you guys got, and I promise you, I got some Dutch friends, nice Dutch friends. You know, they're nice people, they're cool people. They live in New York City, and I promise you, they're like, oh, he doesn't have any power. I'm like, no, he's just your king, you moron. Okay, so now they want compulsory jurisdiction of the International Court, but then the Ethiopian guy is going to be like, yeah, but all that court does is screw us, those Africans.
The manner in which the International Criminal Court, ICC, has been operating left a very bad impression in Africa. Instead of promoting justice and reconciliation and contributing to the peace and stability, it has degenerated into a political instrument targeting Africa and Africans.
There you go. So the International Criminal Court is the rules against Africans because and if you think the Ethiopian guy is rogue or he's speaking out, no, that's called rubbing it in your face. Okay, period. And you know what? Because the average person has this underlying racial bias, and they're like, yeah, well, maybe they probably weren't so bad. You know how those Africans are. And so the Ethiopian guys can tell you all they've done is target and screw Africans in that criminal court. The Netherlands guys like, no, that should be compulsory jurisdiction. Okay, isn't that nice?
This is Germany's twin obligation. A strong, united Europe in the world. And a strong, effective United Nations for the world.
Dude, what the fuck is wrong with German people?
It's not German people. It's their Nazi leadership run by the same people as we've been discussing. Let's keep it going.
China's rapid development over the years has given rise to worries that China might follow the old pattern of wealth breeding arrogance and strength leading to hegemony. And various versions of the China threat theory have surfaced. However, what happened in the past should not be applied to today's China. The outdated Cold War mentality has no place in the new era of globalization.
5 presidents have been warning us for the last 25 years against them red chinks. Now, nobody's going to tell me that the signals is off now, and 1 billion enemies is now our friends. Oh, no, Mr. Nixon has got something up the sleeve.
Yeah, like recommending they be admitted to the UN.
Oh, that'd be the day when this country sits down with a nation of chink ping-pong players who don't believe it.
So that was from the 70s from Archie Bunker, and but Mike, the liberal Democrat, his nephew or his son-in-law is against the Chinese joining the UN also. But Archie's like, we've been warned a million times. And again, it's not the Chinese people, folks, okay, which is what you've been led to believe, like they're all horrible people, okay? No, of course not, okay? Chinese people are victims right now too, but their government has sold their souls, okay? And they think that they're in on this thing, and these speeches and these clips from the Chinese representatives in the United Nations are obvious proof of that case. But again, I doubt seriously that, and you try to use that Chinese model because the Chinese have been overtaken in totalitarianism, and so what they're trying to do to Americans and Europeans are like, look how good it's working over there, and like, yeah, you guys should be more acquiescent to this totalitarian rule and China's like, we're down. China's every other word out of their mouth. We're down with all this. We're down with the United Nations. We're fine with this.
China firmly upholds the role and authority of the UN, supports the UN in
China upholds rolling authority of the UN. Are you kidding me? Okay, and you wonder why Archie's. Well, I'm going to play that again after, but keep it going. They firmly uphold rolling authority, whatever that is.
China firmly upholds the role and authority of the UN, supports the UN in renewing and improving itself in keeping with a changing world, and looks forward to a United Nations that plays a bigger role in international affairs.
They must have made these Chinese leadership people giant promises, okay? And China's just like, yeah, we're ready to party over here. And again, it's sort of in your face. It's sort of it's to intimidate Western people who've had it so well for so long. But it's just twisted every way you could possibly imagine.
5 presidents have been warning us for the last 25 years against them red chinks. Now, nobody's going to tell me that the signals is off now, and 1 billion enemies is now our friends. Oh, no, Mr. Nixon has got something up the sleeve.
Yeah, like recommending they be admitted to the UN.
Oh, that'd be the day when this country sits down with a nation of chink ping pong players who don't believe in
Chink ping pong players who don't believe in God. Now, of course, what they're trying to do is for a long time now, what they're trying to do is demonize China. Also, because that's where they shipped all the American jobs to, and so China is the Chinese. So it's China. That's how the Chinese leadership is able to keep their people quiet and relatively feeling like, well, they're on the come up, so they'll go along with these things too, because they needed China to go along with this New World Order thing. They're going to try to screw them in the end, but first they're going to try to screw the Western people who've had it good for so long, and particularly the United States, because we actually had a manufacturing base here at one point. They've shipped all that away, so now they're going to try to. So now they're gonna have the Chinese representatives like, oh, it's so great, we're down with all this. This is great for us, and so just to rub that in your face a little bit and get you irritated about it because you lost your job and you're going to blame it on the China, and because they want to keep the people fighting with each other while the leadership people all jerk each other off and behind the scenes and saying like, yeah, that'll do it. So don't. I'm not, I don't consider Chinese people my adversary. I don't consider anybody on earth my adversary, okay? What my adversary is these criminals trying to run us, okay? And stealing from us. And look at them all. Just look at them all, okay? Just look what they look like. Just look at how they're reading things and they've sold their souls to, and they're participating in all this garbage. Are you kidding me? Is that what you want? Okay, and you think that's going to work out well for you and your kids? It's not, folks, okay? I know people have beautiful kids, okay, and they're not paying attention, okay? And I'm telling you that these people don't give a shit about you or your kids, okay? And they don't give a shit about you, what you consider happiness and what you like from life, okay? At all, okay? And they're lying to us about everything, okay? I don't believe in any of this. I don't believe in this, how many people they say are even in the world. I don't believe that for one goddamn minute. Why should I believe that from people who lie about everything, okay? Let's just keep it going. This show's moving forward.
Fear of institutionalization of violence and extremism. Fear of poverty and destructive discrimination. Fear of decay and destruction of life-sustaining resources. Fear of disregard for human dignity and rights. And fear of neglect of morality.
There you go. That was the Rouhani guy again, and he's just going to say fear of this, fear of that, and a lot of its stuff is rather profound. Actually, it's too complicated and too abstract to go into, just because he's so hard to. He's not really. It's written to be very confusing. But once again, he's going to say fear, 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 fear.
The ideas, the thoughts, and the opinions of the masses are being manipulated through fear.
Okay, and now let's go through this collectivist meme that they keep. And again, I'm going to show you. Okay, now it's Greece, Madagascar, Brazil, Russia, Ireland, Peru, Russia again, Nigeria, just North Korea, China, Cuba, just every single country you could think of, and they're all like collectivism, communism, collectivism. We have to have a consensus. We have to all agree. And this is all this is nothing about the little people of the world agreeing and living kumbaya. No, this is about communist, or you can call them whatever you want, collectivist, or just insider apps, and monarchist, and fascist, and monopolist criminals, okay, mafiocratic scumbags, okay, trying to make you think, yeah, we all have to agree, it's all about peace. That's been the way they've done it for centuries, okay, and they're continuing to do it. But we got to wake up and be smarter than that now. We have ways of communicating that we've never had before, okay. We have to discuss this with people. We have to sit around the dinner table and discuss this with people. We have to and not just poo-poo it and be like, oh, and because I got it good, so I don't give a you're gonna get screwed, okay. And I promise you that if you think that in 1930s, in early 1930s Nazi Germany, if there weren't that everybody was like they were the same, okay, and they were arrogant, they weren't paying attention, people were doing well, then when there's other people that weren't doing well, and then they ended up screwing everybody, okay, and the Jewish people were the ones who were probably the most well off in general, okay, and they scapegoated them, okay, and just no matter what they're going to try to get people fighting with each other in any way they can, okay, whether it's straight, gay, black, white, religion, social status, social income, women, men. Is a big thing now, and I actually didn't do a segment on that in this show, but everybody was talking about, oh, we have to give women more rights. And listen, don't start with me, okay? It's not like, oh, you don't think women should have more rights? I'm like, that's a whole nother show again, and it's going to be another 3 hours if I get into that. But this is all about just to divide you and to divide you and conquer you, divide you and conquer you, divide you and conquer you, and that's it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about collective this, collective that, collective this, collective that. Again, that's not what this country stands for. This country stands for individualism, and people are like, oh, you think that you're selfish. That's not. Selfish is not the same as individualism. Individualism is a great thing. It's freedom. Okay, it's not selfish. Okay, it's not. Period. All right, and I don't want to hear it from some person who's not paying attention. Listen to Rachel Maddow talk to me about that I'm selfish. Fuck you. Okay, let's keep it going.
All of the great collectivists of history have had this unified global government based on the model of collectivism as their goal, and we fought against it until recently. Now we are actually the greatest advocates of it ourselves. We don't call it tyranny. We don't call it fascism or Nazism or communism. We have a better name for it. The name they have chosen is the New World Order.
We are very committed to the collective work being done for sustained peace.
Greece.
The long collective march towards peace, security, and sustainable planetary development.
Madagascar, the collective march.
The long collective march to.
We listened to and understood their voices because we ourselves came from the streets. We were educated day to day and became who we are as part of the great struggles of Brazil.
Right, so the Brazilian leader, Rousseff, and real fast, just for that, it's fun. It's interesting how they find the people who speak the dialects of these countries so well. When I say that, I mean not just articulating words, but I don't speak Portuguese and I'm not Brazilian, but I know loads of Brazilians, and she has the way she talks. I can tell that every Brazilian's like, oh, she knows how to rock our Brazilian Portuguese, right? Okay, she's got a very sexy style, and when I say sexy, I'm not talking about looks wise. I'm talking about the way she speaks their language, and then when you hear even the French guy, he talk like he from France, and then every single representative that they find seems to have a very gift of very well done gift of gab in their respective dialects, and that is not an accident either. And I just noticed that with the Brazilian one, when you hear her speaking in Portuguese, she speaks like every Brazilian always wanted to sound. I promise you, and that's what they. So anyway, but back to she's like, we're from the streets again. She's got a very, very communist style to her, which people are going to be like, oh, she's helping America, she's helping Brazil, and Brazil's doing better than we've ever done. It's not because of that, folks. Not because of that. Okay, it's because Brazil should be a rich country. Okay, it's a giant country with loads of resources and a wonderful population. Okay, so that's why. So you're doing well despite that, and you would be doing infinitely better if it wasn't for a bunch of criminals running you, like everywhere else. Okay, and we'd all be doing infinitely better because of that. But people are like, no, I'm not doing so bad. I'm like, yeah, you are. Okay, you don't even know. You couldn't even imagine how much better we would do if we were all free and we would be innovating at a light speed. Okay, the thing they hold innovations back. Okay, if you think that we need gasoline to power a car, you're kidding yourself. Okay, you're totally kidding yourself. If you think that nuclear power is dangerous, you're kidding yourself. Okay, there's nothing to do with that. And you know why nuclear power would be free? They would have given electricity to everybody in the world for free if they didn't tell you that it was dangerous. Okay, that's what it's all about. Okay, it's for more because you guys are morons and you're not paying attention, and nobody understands anything about science or about logic. Period. And I got another. That's a whole other show too. We'll get into it. Keep it going. Collectivism.
Increasing collective efforts to counter global challenges.
That was Lavrov.
There can be no doubt that the United Nations is the unique and indispensable forum where the peoples of the world share their collective concerns.
Okay, that's the Irish guy pumping the United Nations against, I'm sure, the Irish people's will.
This is why we insist on the new political concept of simultaneous growth and redistribution.
Simultaneous growth and redistribution. That would be the Peruvian representative again. You think he has Peru's best interest in mind, or Peruvian people's best interest in mind? You're absolutely kidding yourself. I have an employee who's Peruvian. She's the greatest. She's the coolest. Okay, I think she's awesome. Okay, I actually did a show about Peru in Spanish, even though I'm not the best Spanish speaker. Check my website, maxratt.com.
This is why we insist on the new political concept of simultaneous growth and redistribution.
Peru, talking about redistribution.
In these circumstances, as never before, there is an urgent need to agree upon collective responses to the key issues of today. It is solely within the power of such a truly universal organization as the United Nations to address this challenge.
The Lavrov, the Russian, is collective, universal, United Nations, and he's speaking a mile a minute. All obvious proof that the Russians are in on this thing, and their leadership is puppet leadership of the same corporate banking cabal, Rockefeller, Queen of England, European royalty criminals. Next.
It is therefore in the light of our collective obligation and unceasing struggle to end this nightmare.
Nigerian guy, our collective obligation.
Global problems not only need global discussions, but, above all, collective solutions.
Collective actions are understood primarily as agreement with the viewpoint of one group of countries.
Okay, that was Lavrov, and he says it fast again. You got to pay attention. He said, "Collective actions are the agreement of one group of, or are the agreement with the decision and actions of one group of countries." Okay, there you go. Okay, in other words, you guys all have to collectively agree with us, with the Queen. And the Rockefellers, okay? Again, let me play that again, and we'll keep it going. But you got to pay attention. This guy talks real fast. He's not an interpreter. He's a reader, and he's representing the Russian representative. And he talks fast. He's like collective action, and we just listen to us. Shut up.
Collective actions are understood primarily as agreement with the viewpoint of one group of countries.
And I realized that communism and fascism, the so-called opposites, are merely variants of collectivism. They're the same thing. And they believe that the group is more important than the individual, for example. And the individual must be sacrificed, if necessary, for the greater good of the greater number. They believe that the state should be all-powerful and that the people should obey the state for the greater good of the greater number and all of that sort of thing. They believe that rights are granted by the state. They're not part of the human being. They're not God-given. They're not entrenched in his body and soul. They have to be granted by the state. All of these things, and you look at them one by one, communists and fascists and Nazis and socialists, they all believe that. So wherein lies the conflict, you see? And I began to question that. And I realized that it's partly a trick. In fact, I think it's a huge trick. It's a great scam because people even today are thinking that they have to choose between the right or the left, not realizing that no matter which way they go, they've accepted basically the same ideology underneath.
The perfecting of Cuban socialism.
A dream of the great renewal of the Chinese nation, and it was leading the 1.3 billion Chinese people in an endeavor to fulfill the two centenary goals, namely, to finish building a moderately prosperous society in all respects by 2020, and to turn China into a modern socialist country by mid-21st century.
Today, in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the entire people are engaged in an all-out campaign to build a thriving socialist state in the nearest possible future under the wise leadership of the dear respected Marshal Kim Jong-un.
It is our collective responsibility.
A dream of the great renewal of the Chinese nation, and it was leading the 1.3 billion.
Our biggest collective accountability failure.
All of recent history testifies that no state, no matter how big or powerful, can cope alone.
The reign of terror anywhere in the world is an assault on our collective humanity.
Encouraging collective creation.
Reaching common understanding and shared security.
Today, it can be only collective leadership based on the agreed-upon actions of the leading members of the international community.
Okay, it can only be collective leadership based upon the agreed-upon actions of the leading what did he say? That was Lavrov's guy again. They're twisted, okay? He's just telling you right to your face. You just got to catch it because he talks so fast, okay? He's like, yeah, it's collective leadership by collective us, by us, collective over your collective stupid ass.
Today, it can be only collective leadership based on the agreed-upon actions of the leading members of the international community.
Based upon the agreed-upon actions of the leading members of the international community, not you, the leaders, okay?
Collectivism is the graveyard of civilization. It's certainly the graveyard of freedom. If you just think about it, no collectivist system in the world has ever been the kind of a place where freedom was prosperous. People always wound up in the gulag or some kind of a concentration camp if they disagreed with their leaders.
The success of the forthcoming intergovernmental process requires a capacity to forge a global consensus.
Consensus is a new thing. Consensus. That means we all agree. Sorry, buddy. You know what? We agree. You don't. You're outnumbered. Sorry. And that's a recipe for disaster once again. Okay, it's just not because all of you guys agree that I should go to that I should be we should steal your land. That doesn't mean we steal it.
The success of the forthcoming intergovernmental process requires a capacity to forge a global consensus.
In Africa, we are working toward a continental consensus.
Continental consensus. That's the Liberian representative.
This is our new math called connected mathematics. Students learn that mathematics is man-made, that it is arbitrary, and good solutions are arrived at by consensus. Most of us assume 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. You're wrong. We might reach a new consensus.
the left versus the right, sort of embodied today in the Republican Party supposedly on the right and the Democrat Party supposedly on the left. Now, here's a choice, isn't there? Well, why is it if this is such a choice? So we go from Republicans to Democrats, and then 4 years or 8 years later we go back to Republicans again, and we keep doing this. We've been doing this since World War I. How come the country keeps moving in the same direction all the time, deeper and deeper and deeper into collectivism?
I think he knows what Rome is. Rome is the mob. You conjure magic for them and they'll be distracted. We take away their freedom and still they'll roar. The beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, it's the sand of the Colosseum. You bring them death and they will love him for it.
That was a little clip from Gladiator because obviously the fall of the Roman Empire and the way that went down, or the way that they've interpreted or shown you went down, has a lot of relevance to what's going on here today.
I want to continue to build a lasting basis for U.S.-Soviet cooperation for a more peaceful future for all mankind.
Okay, I don't think anybody would disagree. Bush 1 is a lying, murderous traitor, so if he's telling you it, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to build a relationship with the Soviets because that's all about what the world government's about." The Soviets, they're the Russians. Again, most Russians you meet, for whatever it's worth, are smart people. Okay, and it takes a lot to keep them all under wraps, So again, where you give some people some money and some power, and you tell the rest, and you get them to and you keep propagandizing the less the people who are just struggling to get by and to survive, and then you ram this thing home right in front of them, and before they know it, they're slaves to the Bushes and the Putins.
So they've played this game. They played it in both the Soviet Union and in Nazi Germany. I think they're doing the same thing in America.
That's for sure.
The establishment of the United Nations. This organization was conceived by communists, founded by communists, has always been controlled by communists, and has been used increasingly and ever more brazenly to carry out communist purposes. But it was sold by propaganda and pretense to the American people and to most of the rest of the world as a means of maintaining peace and preventing communist aggression.
Sold on a false pretense.
A recent UNICEF report highlights Brazil as a country that has fostered one of the major drops in the child mortality indicator in the whole world. Children are a top priority for Brazil.
Well, it's always about the children, especially with the United Nations. Like, they give a crap about your children. Not only that, but they're a bunch of child murderers in general. So, but the United Nations will be like, "Yeah, it's for the children. We're doing this for the children. Can you believe what they did to those children there?" And
you're free, children. Run back to your individual countries of origin. Hey, those multicultural slave children belong to the Disney Corporation.
Money out of my pocket, but I'm doing it for the children. You see, I got a kid somewhere.
So do I.
We are the children, builders of the future, and we, the children, swear to thee loyal devotion, fearless devotion, and to die with dignity.
that was from 1984, where the children are loyal in devotion and will die with dignity. Isn't that nice? And those are the children of 1984, which have a very similar resemblance to the Nazi Jugend, if you will, the Hitler Jugend.
I believe Japan must continuously cultivate our human resources appropriate to the UN activities.
Okay, that was the Japanese trader's representative who says he needs to cultivate the Japanese human resources. That's what they call us, by the way. We're human resources now, isn't that a nice way to call to talk about people? Okay, and if you think that's a joke, You're kidding yourself again. So the Japanese guy is cultivating the human resources for, according to the UN needs or something like that. Is that
I
what you said?
believe Japan must continuously cultivate our human resources appropriate to the UN activities.
Appropriate to the UN activities. Isn't that nice? So we got the children ready to, represent the United Nations and die in dignity. That's 1984. Die in dignity. Kind of like the Rockabye Baby thing, where it's kind of violent in a way. And then we got Japanese like, yeah, my people, we're cultivating our human resources for the United Nations. Okay, I can go into that as well. They're indoctrinating the youth. That was the Hitler song from World War II, where the little kids of the Hitler Jugend were singing about how great Hitler was.
Happiness, we're gonna spread freedom. Obama's gonna change it. Obama's gonna lead 'em. We're gonna change it and rearrange it. We're gonna change the world.
I think that one speaks for itself. Moving on.
The question has been asked many times how the people who are perpetrating these things expect to do this and make it last. And the answer to that is that you steal a generation of children and you indoctrinate them so that they accept these ideas and they become global citizens in the coming global village.
That is happening all over. There's no doubt about it. Ask anybody with children; they will tell you they can't believe I can't believe what they're telling my kids in school. Here you go.
He said, "How is it that we collectivists, we elitists, how can we rule the world when at the same time we want to let the average person think that they're living in a, quote, democracy. They're living in a system where their vote counts. They're living in this world in which they feel that they must participate in their own political destiny. This is a carefully nurtured myth that they want to create, so people will be content with no matter what happens to them, they'll say, well, I voted for it, or I did it. This government is my government. No matter how bad it is, it's responsible to me. And as long as people have that image, then they don't complain so much about how bad it gets, because they did it, they think.
They think, and that's a myth.
Wherever you look, if you take off the blinders and you get out of the matrix and look at the real facts, the United States, the people here, they live in an artificial, propagandistic, or virtual reality that's not really real.
But they've been programmed. And I'm sad because I know that it's hard for people like that to take an interest, a serious interest in world affairs, to take a serious interest in what their elected officials are doing. And they're not going to be really inclined to study or discover the deception that's being used against them. And so I'm sad because I see all of that in a flash in my mind as being an indication of how easy it is for the masses to be manipulated.
Okay, all right, so I'm coming down the back stretch here, folks. I'm going to reel off a few more clips in a row. There's also going to be a segment. The last segment will be what we call the mac and cheese life. And basically what they're trying to tell people is that, look, just be content with your mac and cheese and you live just be happy that you have an ordinary life where you make it through, and Obama will tell you, you're just getting by, be happy that you're getting by at all and surviving, if you will. And that's the old living the mac and cheese life when I'd like to think that people could aspire and achieve infinitely more wealth and happiness and all kinds of things, and we could do this if we didn't have this plague of criminality running us and playing us through TV and propaganda and nonsensical science and all this stuff, and we have a scourge of criminals running us, and we got to get rid of that, and maybe we can and we should not aspire to just having some mac and cheese and we'll be happy. No, they go or in the third world, they you give them some rice and they're happy. Okay, and listen, I'm not talking about material things. I'm just talking about in general. This world is full of resources and full of wealth. Okay, full of it for everybody. Okay, we don't need oil to run our cars. That's a joke. Okay, but the technology to have free energy has been some controlled and buried because the people who are making all the money off oil don't need you to know that. Okay, and you're too busy playing with. You give them an iPhone. They give you an iPhone, and you're like, and that distracts you for long enough so you don't even question anything anymore. But it's not going to end well for you because it can't. When everybody's stealing, they got to keep stealing to maintain. Keep going.
Which side should be supported in domestic national conflicts and dictate from outside ready-made prescriptions for democratic transformation.
Okay, that was the Lavrov guy again. He said we need to dictate from outside the ready-made prescriptions for democratic representation, whatever he said. That's another just twisted. He tells you that Lavrov speech was over and over how we're going to have certain people going to decide for you, the other people are going to do what they're told. Okay, that's the prescription for you.
The issue of Jammu and Kashmir was presented to the Security Council in January 1948, and yet the issue remains unresolved after nearly 7 decades.
Right, so they presented the problem with Kashmir in the Pakistani-India region. It's been 70 years, okay? And the United Nations supposedly is supposed to be some sort of a helpful group of moderators or mediators or whatever. That's a joke, okay? They don't give a shit. And it's not because they don't give a shit. They're intentionally, they know that's a good way to keep the people of Pakistan and India. They speak the same language, okay, by the way. One's called Urdu, the other one's called Hindi. It's the same exact language. They use a different alphabet in Hindi. That's all because the British, when they divided that area, they wanted to keep people at each other's throats once again, and this is all about that over and over and over again. So they haven't done shit about that for 70 years. They haven't done shit about the Israeli-Palestinian issue because that's intentional, outright intentional as well. Israeli people are absolutely asleep as well. They've been propagandized out the ass for who knows, it's beyond belief. That's another show too. Let me wrap this show up. I'm coming down the backstretch. Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. We're talking about the United Nations. This is part 1 of a 2-part show. Keep it going.
To rectify the historical injustice inflicted on
our two countries have wished. So Pakistan and been fighting with India about Kashmir for 70 years. They still haven't resolved that, thanks to the and you think it's because the UN is so helpful? No, because it's much better off to keep them divided, to keep them at each other's throats, because that's how you divide and conquer.
Our two countries have wasted massive resources in an arms race. We could have used these resources for the economic well-being of our people.
To rectify the historical injustice inflicted on Africa, the continent does not have a permanent seat in the Council and is poorly represented in the category of non-permanent members.
Right, we have a permanent Security Council, and Africa, a giant continent, doesn't have one representative, okay? That's ridiculous, okay? That shows you how corrupt and criminal. But England's on it, whatever. The British, the Queen's on it, whatever. That just shows you how insanely corrupt this supposed, and they're calling themselves a world body, and everybody's down with it. I mean, not everybody. Every representative they have reading their scripts is down with it. That's for sure.
No, Your Majesty, this is a very serious problem. The peasants feel you have no regard for them.
What? I have no regard for the peasants. They are my people. I am their sovereign. I love them. Pull! drifting to the left.
Your Majesty, the situation is worsening. The peasants may grow violent.
Violent, yes, stink. I hate violence. It's the one thing I detest. Violence. I abhor it. Boom! Fell like a stone.
This is not political rhetoric.
Oh no! I don't know. That was from the Rouhani psycho guy who was speaking for him.
And you listen to him?
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
Of course you do.
I'm sorry to say that those of us who are being manipulated by, of course, awards, by people sitting on one another's boards, it doesn't take much for people to suspend their questioning ability when they're given an award.
Right, like you won the award for the Global Significance Initiative that we rewarded you with.
Beware of any organization that rewards members with empty titles or trinkets. These are the wool of the sheep.
There you go.
Amidst all the devastation and hatred, the United Nations and its staff are the face of compassion.
That's Germany saying that the United Nations is the face of compassion.
Amidst all the devastation and hatred, the United Nations and its staff are the face of compassion.
In streets and squares across the world, people are pressing those in power. They want you, the world leaders, to listen. They want to know that we are doing all it takes to secure a life of dignity for all.
Right, they want they want the leaders to secure a life of dignity, or I would argue, a mac and cheese life for all.
They want to know that we are doing everything to ensure that every individual enjoys a life of dignity.
Oh yeah, dignity.
Heard the rumour?
Yeah? Good news, is it?
Oh, I should say so, yes. Choco rations going up.
Really?
25 grams next week. Double plus good, eh?
The so that was 1984. He's like, yeah, did you hear the chocolate? They give him out chocolate rations, like, oh, he's like, the chocolate rations is going up. But the funny part about that one is that Winston works in the Ministry of Truth, which is the news outlet, supposedly, in 1984. And he was the one who, it didn't go up. It went down. It went down, but it was at 30. And then he says, he changes it in the newspaper that it was at 20. And then he says, make it, because they said, tell everybody that the choco ration is going from 30 to 25, and he's like, nah, I'll just tell them it was at 20 and it's going up to 25. And he's like, do you hear the choco rations are going up? And Winston's like, oh really? He knows. He's like, no, it didn't. I just changed that. It really went down, buddy. But and his neighbor is like, double plus good.
And the river's also nature's grocery store. That's where we get all our food, like fish and vegetables.
Vegetables?
Yes, from upriver.
Mac and cheese?
And we'll make our own cheese. We can do that in the woods.
But how?
Because you ferment the milk from... Look.
Yeah, they're on a river. They're camping, and he's like, and his son's like, "Can we make mac and cheese?" He's like, "Yeah, we'll make our own mac and cheese." She's like, "How are we gonna do that?" He's like, "I don't know. We'll ferment the milk or something."
Our people want to enjoy the grace of living an ordinary life.
That's the Palestinian guy, Abbas, and he says, our people just want to have an ordinary life, or a mac and cheese life.
Our people want to enjoy the grace of living an ordinary life.
Right. We just want to enjoy the grace of an ordinary life.
Our people want to enjoy the grace of living an ordinary life.
Living the mac and cheese life. Mac and cheese.
I think one of the most pernicious aspects of the modern environmental movement is this romanticization of peasant life.
It's social engineering, and it's kind of, at this point, it's the acceptance of what I call the new poverty. It's the the sense that you're cool if you do without, if you live without, if you're giving it up, if you're reducing, if you're constraining yourself, if you're restricting, if you're drawing in, you are part of the new going forward.
And what's the best representative of that? You're cool if you do that. You know what the best one is? That Burning Man. Everybody they love it. They have all the beautiful people, all the models. Everybody's at Burning Man, where they live in the middle of the desert with nothing. And you're like, that's cool now. It's cool to be poor and broke and have nothing and eat fucking dirt. You know, like, yeah, that's the cool. You know why? Because they want you to all be a bunch of slaves while they rob everybody. There's plenty of resources for everybody. Don't let them lie to you.
By the way, Smith, I seem to have run out of razor blades for some reason. You wouldn't happen to have any spare, would you?
Sorry, brother, I'm on the last one.
Right, so 1984 again. They're out of razor blades.
Well, mac and cheese. This is the time when I throw "let's move" out the window for a moment and get that mac and cheese. Everybody deserves their mac and cheese.
That was Michelle Obama. She's like, everybody mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese. Everybody deserves their mac and cheese. Oh yeah, thanks.
Not simply to be alive, but rather to live decent lives.
Right, not just the decent life. Oh yeah, thanks. Decent. Yeah, you can have a decent life. Well, you know, while we're the rich global elite criminals are, you know, again, if you watch 1984, you watch Brave New World, the people at the top are partying and then they drug them all up and they give them, like, you know, they eat steaks, they eat wine, they eat this. Everybody else eating mac and cheese. Okay, and you should be happy. You got a decent life, you got an ordinary life, you got your mac and cheese life.
Living the mac and cheese life. Mac and cheese.
Don't get on that ship. The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook.
That was from the Twilight Zone, where they're like, yeah, we're gonna serve man. You know, they give them, serve man's a cookbook. They're gonna cook you and serve you. Okay.
We lay eggs, day in and day out, and when we can't lay any more, they kill us. Okay,
that was from that movie Chicken Run. She's like, we lay eggs day in, day out, and when we can't lay any eggs anymore, they kill us. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Brothers and sisters, the battle for production has been won. Completed returns show that the standard of living has risen by no less than 20% over the last year. All over Oceania, there have been spontaneous demonstrations of party workers voicing their gratitude and joy.
That was from 1984. She's like, oh, yeah, all the party workers are voicing their gratitude and joy for how good things are for us. Yeah, isn't that? And that's what you're told to believe.
So laying eggs all your life and then getting plucked, stuffed and roasted is good enough for you, is it?
It's a living.
Right. She's like, yeah, just ate your eggs all your life when they get plucked, stuffed, and roasted. She's like, yeah, well, that's what I do.
How about you? You still on Earth or on the ship with me? Really doesn't make very much difference, because sooner or later, will all of us be on the menu? All of us.
From Twilight Zone, sooner or later, all of us are going to be on the menu, okay? All of us are going to be plucked, stuffed, and roasted, okay? All of us. Isn't that profound from Twilight Zone from back in the day? All right, so this is the last, coming down the back stretch, the last few clips. It's been a long show. It's been talking about the United Nations. I'm just gonna roll them out, cut the show. This is a long show. I got another second part. I'm gonna go over that, and I'm gonna go over the whole summary at the end of the second show. Thanks for coming aboard the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm Max Ratt. We live in a mac and cheese. You know, you deserve better than a mac and cheese life. We don't need to steal. These are United Nations criminals that are part of a very the monarchies of Europe and the criminal monopolists of the Rockefeller groups in the United States and the Chinese leadership that's trying to pimp their people too. Everybody else is going to be on the menu, okay, and be plucked, stuffed, and roasted, and exterminated, for that matter. God forbid, if you're in Africa or here, for that matter, or everywhere for that matter as well. We have to start waking up to this, looking and seeing what's going on, paying attention. You can see these speeches are all written by the same people. Even the people who were supposedly against us or demonized by us are rogue people. They're not rogue people. They're all in on it, or the people who represent them are in on it. But the peoples of the world would obviously be all against this if they knew what was going on. Let's keep that going. Thanks for coming aboard the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'll probably sign off for you one more time. Let me play a few more clips, and we're out of here.
Americans are always focused on, well, how can we make this happen quickly so I can go back to my golf game? You know, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. If I'll become active maybe for a few months, and I'll vote for a candidate or something, but don't drag this thing out, please, because I'm too busy. They want to know how we can turn this all around by the next election. It can't be done by the next election, but it can be done.
That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day.
I know you agree with me and Stevie Wonder. We need it signed, sealed, and delivered.
What a shame. What a crying shame. How in the world could this country of all nations breed such a dumbed down, unthinking, illiterate, uneducated, stupid, ignorant population?
Yeah, and on that note, thanks once again for listening to Deconstruction Zone. Always, you can always check me out on iTunes and subscribe to my show. It's free. You can always on my all my new shows are always on the website maxratt.com. You can also go on YouTube and my YouTube account. Just search Max Ratt, you'll find them. Thanks for coming aboard again. We got another show coming in the next day or two. I've already laid most of it out. Just have to do some final touches on it. This is part one of the United Nations, an unelected world government theater. And this is part one of that show. And thanks for coming aboard the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm Max Ratt. Over and out.
Batman, I... Say no more, Robin. It could be compromising.
I don't understand your resistance, and I don't think anyone else will either.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
Batmobile over and out.
Right.